Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Mastered the Secret of Uzumaki Clan Part 4. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Rock Lee, severely hurt by Gaara a month prior, was outside the stadium, limping on a pair of crutches. After being released from the hospital, he was now traveling with his sensei, Maeda Guy, to witness the last rounds. Grinning, the two guards at the entrance greeted the pair. The guard said, "Welcome back, Guy. You two better be heading in. The next match is about to start." Guy nodded. Guy greeted the two guards. "Yosh, thank you. How did the first rounds of the Chunin exam go?" The guard said, startling Guy and Lee. "Well, the first few rounds have been completed, however Sasuke Uchiha has been disqualified due to him not arriving on time, so now Gaara moves on to the next round." Lee turned to face Guy's, saying, "I see, I didn't realize my eternal rival's tardiness would rub off on his pupils, how unfortunate." Lee was very curious and said, "Then what about Naruto and Neji's match?" The guard told Lee, who was shocked, now that one was a surprise. The Hyuga lost to Naruto. "To be honest, my money was on the Hyuga." "Neji lost?" he exclaimed, clearly shocked, and then slowly grinned. "I see, good going, Naruto," Lee remarked as Guy gave his pupil a nod of approval. As the guards nodded, Lee questioned, "But wait, if Neji lost and Sasuke was disqualified, doesn't that mean Naruto fights against Gaara next?" "That would be the case. You know, I have to admit I didn't think the kid would have been able to defeat the Hyuga prodigy of all people. But from the way he took down Neji so effectively, maybe he has a chance," the guard replied with a nod. As the crippled Lee nodded and limped into the arena, he said to his apprentice, "I see. Well then, come Lee, let's see how Naruto will handle Gaara." In the interim, the arena floor, after learning that Sasuke had been eliminated from the finals for being late, Sasuke and Kakashi were a little taken aback. It was, to put it mildly, unexpected. Kakashi and Sasuke stared a little dumbfounded, and his reply was, "Eh?" As Genma nodded, Kakashi questioned, "Did you say Sasuke was disqualified?" "Unfortunately, you failed to show up in time, so he was disqualified. We were going to postpone his match until you arrived, but some of the shinobi leaders didn't believe in giving special treatment, so he was disqualified," Genma said while Kakashi nodded. He had to blink to see how different Naruto looked from when he had last seen him a month ago, but he asked as Genma pointed behind him to reveal Naruto standing in front of them. "I see. So then, who will Gaara be fighting?" he asked. He said, "Naruto," and Genma nodded. His words caused Kakashi to feel a little panicked. Really surprising actually, he managed to beat Neji with little effort. "Whatever you put him through must have been worth it," he said. "This is unfortunate. I thought Sasuke would get away with being a little late. I had not anticipated that he would be eliminated. I have been teaching Sasuke the Chidori how to counter Gaara's sand defense for the past few weeks, but I haven't been considering the possibility that Naruto might advance to the next round. Oh no, I should have spent more time training Naruto. Not that I didn't think he could, but I reasoned that even if he lost to Neji, it would have taught him a valuable lesson. However, now that he's facing Gaara and lacks the Chidori or any other jutsu that could breach Gaara's defenses, well, this is bad." Kakashi began to mentally panic as Naruto approached Sasuke. He said, "Hey, you okay? I'm sorry you got disqualified," while the Uchiha gave him his customary icy look. Sasuke flexed his left hand and said, "It's fine. I should have gotten here on time. I guess there's nothing I can do about it." He turned to face Naruto and remarked, "I was hoping to use my new jutsu on him. But I guess that won't be the case." Naruto nodded and stared as he spoke, "But that doesn't mean I won't want to fight you. Next time I expect to go against you one-on-one." "Same, but be here on time next time," smirking, Naruto said, and Sasuke nodded. Naruto turned to face the Uchiha and said, "Hey, Sasuke." Sasuke looked at Naruto and shoved his hands in his pockets, saying, "Don't suppose you have any tips for me?" "Simply put, don't lose," he declared as he made his way to the bleachers. Naruto nodded, gazing at his regressing form. He turned to face Kakashi and smiled at his sensei as he heard, "Naruto." His teacher nodded and he said, "Hey Kakashi-sensei, didn't think I'd make it this far, huh? You are constantly full of surprises, I will give you that, and I'm impressed and proud that you made it this far. But listen, I think it would be best if you drop out right now," he suggested as Naruto's eyes widened. "I realize I should have taken the time to train you as well, but I spent the last 2 weeks helping Sasuke get ready for his fight with Gaara. The training I put Sasuke through was designed to counter Gaara's abilities. I don't know what Ebisu has taught you, but I don't think it will be enough against his power. Please, heed my advice and drop out. Gaara is an unstable person that will seriously injure you like he did Rock Lee or worse. Please, I'm not asking you because I don't think you can win. I'm asking you for your safety, he said while staring at his sensei. He should be upset that his sensei was telling him to give up, on the one hand. Following a month-long absence from him and being replaced by a different instructor while he instructed Sasuke. It was frustrating to be informed at the last minute to withdraw. He would have been yelling at the man incoherently if he had been the previous Naruto. However, Naruto had evolved beyond that. Sasuke had been specially trained by Kakashi to battle Gaara, and it's likely that he even devised a strategy to get past Gaara's defenses. While Naruto certainly had some ideas, Kakashi may have used a more successful strategy. It also made sense after reading his mother's journal, learning about the numerous people Kakashi had lost throughout his life, and learning about the wounds Gaara had inflicted on Lee. He wished not to lose him in the same manner. Though Kakashi would assume it was just his pride speaking, he had another reason for fighting Gaara, since Kakashi was unaware of what he had gone through. He had chosen a darker route, but he was aware of what it meant to be a Jinchuriki. He had to kick his butt in order to save him. He said, with all due respect, Kakashi-sensei, but I can't drop out, to Kakashi's wide-eyed expression. He looked up in time to see Gaara heading to the arena. I know it's not because you don't believe in me, but rather you don't want me to get hurt like Lee. But there's another reason I have to face Gaara, he said. He said, looking a little surprised at Kakashi. He's exactly like me long ago if I hadn't had people that care about me, and I need to help him. He wasn't prepared for Naruto to respond in this way. He was prepared for the young man to launch into an explosive tirade. However, this was not what he had anticipated. It appeared that he had experienced a significant transformation in both his look and mindset in just 1 month. What had he been through in the past month? Ebisu. It's not Ebisu's work, this is someone else's, Kakashi thought to himself as, for the briefest of moments, he recognized the young boy as his sensei and Obito and blinked the ghosts away. Genma said, sorry Kakashi, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave the arena. The match is about to start, giving off a confused look. Naruto nodded and he said, okay, but Naruto, be careful. If things get too hard, quit. There's no shame in forfeiting. As Kakashi began to move away, he remarked, I know, but I need to do this. He continued, and Kakashi-sensei, as Kakashi halted and turned to face him. We need to talk, alone, after the exams, Naruto stated, to which Kakashi raised an eyebrow before nodding and vanishing. Steps Shikamaru and Sasuke were climbing the stairs and making their way back to the viewing box. Sasuke asked, so, Naruto. How did he do? As Shikamaru trailed behind him. Honestly, the way Naruto fought against Neji wasn't like the Naruto we knew before. There was some level of tactic and patience this time. It was like he was a new person but still the same old Naruto. Whatever Kakashi taught him must have paid off, Shikamaru said with a sigh. Shikamaru furrowed his brow at this information, and Sasuke explained, he couldn't have, Kakashi was training me the entire time. So, who trained Naruto if Kakashi didn't? As the mystery surrounding Naruto's transformation grew more enigmatic, he wondered. They came to a sudden stop when they saw Gaara at the top of the stairs, his hand twitching and sand slowly beginning to leak out of his gourd, all while having a dead crazy look in his eye. I was supposed to fight you, he uttered, to a glaring Sasuke and a nearly paralyzed Shikamaru. I was to fight you to prove my existence, Sasuke said, his left hand twitching as though he was about to form a chakra. The sand started to get bigger. As the sand began to take on a monstrous shape and Sasuke got ready to use the Chidori, he remarked, but now I can't. I must demonstrate my existence, he said, his eyes darting wildly as Sasuke's hand began to glow. He walked past him slowly until the sand slowly seeped back into the gourd. I'll demonstrate my existence, he uttered as he passed by. After I eliminate your friend, I'll pursue you next, he declared as he descended the steps. Only then will I prove my existence. Shikamaru was trembling in terror as Sasuke glared at the shinobi he was supposed to be fighting, and both of them were staring at the insane shinobi. Shikamaru said, hey, where are you going? The viewing box is this way, but Sasuke chose to ignore him. Shikamaru sighed and stared as he spoke, I'm going to find Kakashi. I want to see what Naruto's learned in the past month. He said, man, this is such a drag, as he trailed behind him. Stands at stadiums. As Asuma and Kurenai were getting ready to watch the match, Guy and Lee made their way to the stands. At that moment, Kakashi emerged from behind them and approached the other Genin sensei. "Hey, Guy, it's been a while," he said with his typical smile. Kakashi nodded, but there was a tinge of concern in his body language. "Yash, my eternal rival. I'm sorry to hear one of your students was disqualified. But you must feel an immense amount of pride for your other student to make it to the finals," Guy said. Before he realized Sakura was there, Kakashi said, "Yep, Naruto certainly took me by surprise." Kakashi said, "Oh, Sakura, sorry for not contacting you for a while Ino gave him a fierce look. Sakura shook her head and said, "Yeah, she must be pretty pissed at him for that," as Ino thought. "Kakashi-sensei, it's okay, but is that Sasuke's mark, is it?" she questioned, and Kakashi gave a nod. He comforted Sakura, saying, "It's under control, Sakura, don't worry," as Sakura nodded and breathed a sigh of relief and Ino perked up. "Mark? What subject are they discussing?" Before Kakashi turned to face the ring, where Naruto was currently waiting for Gaara to emerge, Ino asked. Soon after, Sasuke and Shikamaru approached Kakashi and Guy on foot. "Sasuke-kun!" exclaimed Ino excitedly, while Sakura worriedly glanced at her teammate, who chose to ignore them both and focus on the game. Sakura whispered, "Sasuke," while the Uchiha merely gazed at the arena. Glancing at this, Kakashi turned to face Sakura. Asuma and Kurenai approached Kakashi. He said, "So, Naruto won against Neji, how did he accomplish that?" Asuma asked as Kakashi squinted at her, "We were going to ask you the same thing. I've got to admit even I was impressed with how much he's progressed in only a month. What did you do with him?" As Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy's eyes widened slightly, Kakashi said, "That's the thing. I didn't do anything with Naruto. I left him with Ebisu to work on his chakra control for the month." Sakura asked her sensei, nodding, "What? You didn't do anything with Naruto for a month?" Sasuke said, "It's true," as they both turned to face him. With his hands in his pockets, he uttered, "Kakashi was with me the entire time. I haven't seen Naruto till today. So, Naruto, how much stronger are you now?" As Sasuke gazed at the blonde, he thought to himself. Kurenai, Asuma, Guy, and Kakashi carried on their conversation in the interim. Asuma shook his head and Kurenai said, "Kakashi, no offense to Ebisu, but there's no way he could have gotten Naruto to that level so quickly. You had to have taught him something. Also, shouldn't you have trained both of them?" Sure, Sasuke had a challenging and potentially unstable opponent to face, but that's a moot point now that he's disqualified, Asuma said with a sigh. "Yes, I can see that error in my judgment, but if I'm honest, I assumed Naruto would lose to Neji. Despite the fact he was his opponent, he's still a Leaf Shinobi and it would have been a valuable lesson to him. That not every battle can be won," Kakashi said while shaking his head. Gazing at Lee's wounds, Guy remarked, "Well, Naruto won, and now he's up against a very dangerous opponent, one that crippled my student." Concerned and ashamed, Kakashi uttered, "I know, which is why I taught Sasuke a technique that would work against Gaara. But now that he was disqualified, I may have just doomed Naruto." Asuma said, staring down at the boy, "Well, Naruto surprised us with his fight against Neji, maybe he'll pull another rabbit out of his hat and win?" Because if he doesn't, they all turned to face the stadium arena as Gaara emerged, and the two of them soon found themselves face to face. "Then, I'm afraid, this will be as far as Naruto will ever go," they all said. Gaara was mostly focused on killing the blonde so that he could kill Sasuke next, but Naruto was mentally going over the details of his plan against Gaara as the two of them glared at each other. Genma held up his hand and yelled, "The semifinal rounds of the Chunin Exams will begin, between Uzumaki Naruto and Gaara of the Sand Village." As Naruto raised his hands and Gaara's sand started to spill out of the gourd, he said, "Ready. Begin." Gaara shot a stream of sand from his gourd to start the match, and just as Naruto was about to parry him, Gaara suddenly toppled over. Naruto arched a brow and Gaara spoke up out of nowhere, "Don't get so angry." Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, "I know. I promised you another's blood." Gaara was speaking. To the One Tails, is he speaking? As Temari and Kankuro appeared worried, Naruto asked. "It started. He started talking with that. This is bad," Temari nodded, and Kankuro whispered. Temari whispered, "I've never seen Gaara act like this before a fight. Why hasn't the Cage sent the signal yet?" As Shino peered suspiciously at the two from a distance. Glaring, Naruto reached into his pouch. Naruto thought as he threw several shurikens and yelled, "I don't know if he's using the One Tails chakra yet, so I can't waste the suppression seals. In that case, I just need to focus on getting rid of his sand." Naruto exclaimed, "Ninja art! Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu," as the shurikens increased in number from 3 to over 30. The Shadow Clone Jutsu of Shuriken. Kakashi sounds curious, saying, "I had no idea Naruto was familiar with that jutsu." Asuma said, "That's the least of it, keep watching," and Gaara responded by bringing up his sand, which immediately stopped the shurikens in their tracks. He used the sand to form clones of himself, and the clones threw back the shurikens as Naruto swiftly went through a series of hand signs before yelling, "Mud wall, earth style." As a massive chunk of earth shot up to block the approaching shuriken, Naruto let out a shout. "Earth jutsu? How did he find out that?" He was struggling to perform the tree-walking jutsu. Asuma nodded and Kakashi uttered astonished words. "That's not the only jutsu he knows. That also caught us off guard. He is also proficient in the exploding shadow clone jutsu and wind style. Great breakthrough. To be honest, we believed you had taught him those jutsu." As Kakashi shook his head, Asuma spoke. While Sasuke was watching the match with great interest, Kakashi said, "No, and Ebisu doesn't know those kinds of techniques either." In the meantime, another set of Naruto jumped out from the earth wall, and they too threw kunai at the sand, getting close to Gaara but was stopped by the sand. However, the kunai had explosive tags on them. Gaara's eyes widened and moved the sand out of the way, as it detonated and cost him a chunk of sand. Naruto crossed his fingers as he quickly summoned several shadow clones, nodding to them with a plan already formed in their minds. "Creative and eye-catching tags, but I don't think they'll be sufficient," Sasuke remarked while keeping an eye on his teammate during the game. Before taking a breath, Naruto swiftly went over hand signals. "Wind style. Great breakthrough jutsu," he yelled, directing a powerful gust of wind towards Gaara, who shielded himself from the wind with his sand. "Annoying," Gaara uttered before two clones swiftly approached from behind him, ready to launch an attack, only to have sand shoot up from the beach at his feet, flinging them back as they exploded. "Exploding clones. That won't work on me," Gaara muttered, unimpressed with this strategy. While observing the battle, Kakashi remarked, "This is bad. I trained Sasuke to use Lee's taijutsu and his speed to counter Gaara's sand defenses. Furthermore, Naruto lacks Lee's speed and taijutsu abilities, as far as I'm aware. There might be some benefits for him from the earth and wind jutsu. But without the Chidori. Damn it, I messed up," Kakashi remarked, fretting over his sensei's son's future. "Something tells me Naruto hasn't used all his tricks yet," Kurenai remarked as she and the others observed. "It's not over yet, Kakashi," Hinata worriedly observed. "Naruto-kun, please be okay," she pleaded, wishing for success. Gaara was more or less unimpressed with the current display and wanted nothing more than to end Naruto, but he was also more cautious because he had seen the exploding clone technique and was determined not to make the same mistakes as the Hyuga. Naruto leapt back as he used more clone shurikens to hold off Gaara and keep him distracted. Naruto patted his scroll and said, "Okay, time to test my theory. Guys, come on, let's do it." As his clones nodded, Naruto threw one of his scrolls to his clone, and the others threw more shurikens at Gaara, who deftly deflected them with his sand shield. However, as they did so, a clone and Naruto leapt into the air, each clutching a scroll. Naruto said, "Okay, let's level the playing field. I'll show you a complicated ceiling array on the paper." "How far does Naruto go?" With a shake of her head, Sakura asked Ino. "I don't know," she uttered as Naruto smiled, smacked his hand on the scroll's back, and yelled. "Leave." They yelled as massive volumes of water erupted from the scrolls, tumbling down and filling the arena to the brim. The water filled the entire lower level and spread out to the stands halfway. "How the heck?" Gaara yelled as the water slammed into him, forcing him to use his sand to break up the waves. However, the arena's bottom soon filled with water, forcing him to use his sand to create a small footing for himself on top of the water. How absurd is that? In those scrolls, he had a lake. Tenten turned to face Kiba, who yelled at him. Though it's not very conventional, a scroll can theoretically seal a significant volume of water. Why would he do that, though? Tenten inquired while Guy and the other sensei looked on in fascination. What does he intend to accomplish? Asuma inquired, his curiosity matching that of the throng. Soon after, Naruto and his clones descended onto the water's surface, using their chakra to stay afloat. They clustered around Gaara, using hand signals as they did so, and Kakashi's eyes grew wide. He observed that, "That's not the wind jutsu hand signs," prior to the clones finishing and erupting into shouts. Water bullet jutsu. A water style. They let out a shout as they turned the chakra in their stomachs into water, and then they fired highly pressurized bursts of water at Gaara, who snarled in annoyance at the water hitting his sand. He growled, "He can use water style too." Just before another Naruto fired a water bullet at him, forcing him to defend himself with his sand. He growled in frustration as more clones shot water bullets at him, asking, "What is he up to?" The other sensei blinked and Kakashi exclaimed, "Water style too? How could he have learned that in only a month?" Asuma observed the clones firing more water bullets at the sand and another clone entering the area with kunai knives that were enhanced by the wind. "That we didn't know about," Asuma remarked. "Now that I think about it, after I gave him the pointer on wind chakra, he said something about earth and water, so that means he also possesses water and earth chakra. Interesting," Asuma said with a nod. Kurenai narrowed his eyes and said, "But the problem is water isn't as effective against earth. Naruto should know this. This isn't happenstance. Naruto's strategies differ from his prior ones. He's been attacking Gaara with water jutsu after first flooding the arena with enough water to make Gaara build a small platform out of sand. Is he testing Gaara's sand, and if so, why?" As he watched the match with Sasuke watching intently, he thought to himself. "Mother desires your blood," Gaara uttered, growing increasingly irritated. He sent a wave of sand towards Naruto and said, "You're starting to bore me," but then he noticed something. He observed that the sand was not moving as quickly as it had previously, as Naruto ducked the blow. "My sand. It's not moving fast enough." He snarled as more of his sand was doused with water. "Damn it. The water. Hey, is it just me, or is Gaara's sand moving a little bit slower?" Kiba questioned Hinata as they observed the battle. "You're right, it's not as fast as before." "Wait, is Naruto?" Hinata asked, seeing the enlargement in Kakashi's gaze. He said, "I see. That's what he's doing." Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy all turned to face him. Asuma asked, "You know what he's up to?" And Kakashi gave a nod. "It's rather ingenious, but by flooding the area with water, he's forced Gaara to use his sand to make a platform to float on. He could have used the water walking technique, but he seems entirely reliant on his sand. Because of this he is both using and limiting the amount of sand he has. And then Naruto uses the water jutsu to make Gaara's sand wet. Doesn't seem like much, but I'm guessing that Gaara's sand is unique and made of a special blend of different sands to increase speed and durability. But despite that, it's still sand, and when you get sand wet," he continued. Sasuke, watching the fight, remarked, "It gets more clumped up, and I'm guessing harder for Gaara to control." He grinned and remarked, "I can't believe Naruto thought of something like that." Temari spoke as Kankuro nodded, "This is bad. If Gaara's sand gets harder to control, then it might push him over the edge and he could resort to. Oh my god, this is so much work. What is this old bastard waiting for?" murmured Kankuro. From his perch atop the cage box, the cage observed the match with curiosity, grinning beneath his mask. "I have to admit that I did not anticipate the Nine-Tails brat to exhibit wind style, water style, and earth style traits. If he's caught, maybe he could make a good test subject." Orochimaru grinned and remarked, "After all, the power of the Nine-Tails might prove useful once Konoha has fallen. What more surprises does this child have in store for us? Let's see." As Orochimaru postponed the invasion a little while longer to see what more the child had to offer, he thought about this with curiosity. As Gaara snarled in annoyance, Naruto yelled, "Keep it up, the sand's getting slower. This just might work." He curled the sand around him and unleashed a ring of sand that expanded and destroyed many of Naruto's clones. A ring of sand rapidly reformed around Gaara, although it was more clumped up due to the water barrage and the arena flooding. Naruto cried out, "Shit," as he was knocked back. He growled, "Uzumaki." Naruto, feeling the One-Tails screaming for blood in his ear. He yelled, "You're starting to annoy me," as he threw a wave of sand at Naruto, who could only bite his thumb and make signs with the blood on it after cursing. Just as the sand was about to smash into him and a massive explosion of smoke and water vapors shot into the air, he yelled, "Die," and slammed his hand onto the water's surface. "Naruto!" his friends exclaimed, and Gaara grinned. Suddenly, something emerged from the smoke and touched the topmost portion of the wall. "Phew, that was close," Naruto uttered while glancing below him. "I appreciate you saving me, Gamma," Naruto uttered while perched atop a medium-sized toad clad in battle armor. The toad greeted the crowd with a chorus of, "It's my pleasure, Master Naruto." A large toad that appeared out of nowhere in the arena confused those who were new to the ninja arts, but more seasoned shinobi recognized the summon and understood the meaning of Toad's presence right away. To put it mildly, it was unexpected. Kiba and the others were staring at the toad when he exclaimed, "What the heck? Where did that come from?" With Choji's mouth hanging open and his chips on the ground, Ino cried out, "Ew! A toad? Gross! How did that get in here?" "Oh my goodness, this has become even more complicated," Shikamaru exclaimed, aware of the ramifications of Naruto's summoning of a toad. A creature not seen in Konoha since the 4th Hokage. This is going to be a huge drag. As Tamari squinted, Kankuro growled, "Shit! What the hell is that?" Tamari said, "This is unexpected," as she raised her gaze to the cage box. She asked, "What is the cage waiting for?" as Shino fixed his gaze on the medium-sized toad that was lying beneath Naruto's feet. Shino turned to Sakura, who was turning to face Kakashi, who was gaping openly at the scene, and said, "Interesting." Sakura said, "Kakashi-sensei, where did that toad come from?" while Kakashi squinted. He said, "I see. Now it makes sense." Sasuke furrowed his brow. Sasuke inquired, "What is it, Kakashi?" as Kakashi and the other senseis realized what was going on. "I know who trained Naruto. That toad can only be summoned if Naruto has signed the toad summoning contract. The thing is, there's only been one person who possesses that particular summoning contract. He's known as one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha, a man that trained the 4th Hokage himself. Master Jiraiya, the toad sage of Mount Myoboku," he said as Sasuke, Sakura, Kiba, Hinata's pupils widened. Shocked beyond belief, Ino exclaimed, "What? But why would some like him want to train Naruto of all people? Why not Sasuke?" Asuma stroked his beard and Kurenai said, "It's the only explanation. Jiraiya is one of the Leaf Village's strongest shinobi, but it does beg the question. Why did he choose Naruto of all people to train?" Asuma remarked, sensing Kakashi's unease, "But still, even if it's Jiraiya, there's no way Naruto would have improved that much in so little time. He came back after all these years, so perhaps things could work out after all if he took over Naruto's training. After all, he trained Minato-sensei. Perhaps he also taught Naruto something that will help him beat Gaara." He pondered as Sasuke fixed him with a fierce stare. "So that's who taught you, then?" Sasuke balled his fist. "A legendary Sannin, one of the strongest in the Leaf Village. Maybe I can locate a Sannin and have them train me if Naruto was able to grow so strong under one. I need more power," Sasuke thought to himself, considering how strong he might become to murder his brother. As all of this was going on, Orochimaru was furiously glaring at the toad inside the cage box, curling his fist. "That explains why that obstinate jerk Jiraiya has come back to the village. Oh no, I didn't think he would return so quickly, but if he took the 9-tailed brat under his wing, that could account for the youngster's quick development. But maybe the invasion is in danger," he smiled slightly to himself. Orochimaru grinned under his mask, thinking darkly, if Sasuke sees this boy had learned under a Sannin, then there is no doubt he will seek me out in exchange. This may work out for me after all. "So, they are aware that you received training from Jiraiya. Naruto, how will you move forward now?" As he watched the match with great interest, Sarutobi thought to himself. Gazing down, Naruto saw that Gaara was observing him. Man, this guy is tough. Even with his sand all clumped up, he's still able to use it effectively. However, it's not as fast now, so that might give us a chance. "Listen, Gamma, I have an idea. Can you do Shadow Clone Jutsu?" Gamma asked as Naruto knelt down and whispered in his ear, "If you perform the hand signs, I can share my chakra with you and then I can use the Shadow Clone technique. What do you have in mind?" As they synchronized their chakras, Naruto crossed his fingers and said, "I see. It's risky, but it might work." As multiple Naruto and Gamma clones materialized, Naruto and Gamma exclaimed, "Shadow Clone Jutsu?" Gaara raised his sand defense mechanism, and his eyes grew wide. "Let's go, Gamma." Gamma literally leapt into action and exclaimed, "Right." Gaara sent his sand to attack the Gamma clones, but the toads were able to jump out of the way, causing the Gamma clones to miss. Gaara growled and threw more sand at Naruto, saying, "Pesky vermin." The clones abruptly stopped using hand signals, and the toad's throat suddenly widened. Naruto and Gamma yelled, "Wind style, toad oil bullet," as they shot a massive ball of oil directly at Gaara, who was using his sand to block the oil. "What is this? Is this oil?" Gaara exclaimed, deflecting another attack from a Naruto and Gamma clone with a toad oil bullet. Kiba questioned as Kakashi squinted. What is Naruto thinking? Why did he switch from using water jutsu to oil? He thought to himself, he can't possibly be thinking, while Gaara glared at him. Your attacks are ineffective. This battle is meaningless. Gaara scowled at Naruto. Naruto flicked open the lighter he carried in his pocket and said, maybe, but the thing about toad oil is that it's highly flammable. More so than regular oil. So my attacks may seem useless, but pointless. Gazing around him at all the oil, even the bits that had seeped into his sand, Gaara's eyes grew wide. Naruto shot the lighter at the oil and said, not so much, as the flames shot straight toward Gaara. With little option left, Gaara rapidly caused the sand to quickly encircle him in a sphere of sand as the fire rapidly got closer to him. Kankuro noticed the sphere of sand encircling him and thought, damn, he's forced Gaara into using that jutsu. Damn him, Gaara uttered while shielding himself from the flames with the sand. Feeling the one-tails stir beneath his soul, Gaara growled with annoyance inside the cocoon. He started to activate the seals that would allow the one-tails to emerge, saying, yes, I agree mother. I'm going to kill him, crack his head open, so that all his blood will spill out. And you can have it all. I'm always a good boy. Let's do this mother. Naruto exclaimed, okay, on to the next part. As all of his clones surrounded the sphere and made their way through the hand signals. They yelled, wind style. Great breakthrough jutsu. As they unleashed a powerful gust of wind that encircled the sand sphere in flames. Gaara was interrupted as the sand around him heated up, saying, what? He exclaimed, hot hot. Hot. Why is it getting so hot? Inside before inadvertently interrupting the jutsu and grunting. Kiba exclaimed, that's insane. As he and the others had to cover up from the heat. It's like a freaking oven. What the heck is he thinking? Kiba exclaimed, and Kakashi narrowed his eyes upon realizing what Naruto was planning. I see, Naruto. So that's your plan? He intends to break through the sand by using sheer force because he lacks the lightning jutsu to do so. Gaara's need to use as much sand as possible in order to stay afloat, which implies that there won't be sufficient to completely protect him. The flaming vortex lasted for several minutes before the flames soon subsided and the sand surrounding Gaara's sphere was glowing hot red. He then used extreme heat to change the sand's silicone molecules from sand by combining the toad's oil and wind jutsu. Into glass. Kakashi uttered, grinning beneath his mask. That's quite unexpected, even for you, he remarked, earning a glare from Naruto before yelling. He and the clones sprayed water at the sand, steam hissing away at contact as the sand quickly cooled to the point where Gaara's sand was now rough glass. Now, water style. Water bullet jutsu. They exclaimed. Now, yelled Naruto as the clones launched explosive tags towards the front part of the glass dome. The tags sank into the glass and then exploded, sending sand and glass flying all over the place. Gaara was propelled out of the sand as he fell across the water's surface, with the sand acting independently to prevent him from falling in. Gaara moaned, you bastard, and slowly stood back up, but before Gaara could respond, Naruto shot out blood from his mouth and struck him square in the face as he emerged from beneath the water. He crashed back into the water, his sand armor badly damaged from the blast and explosion. As Akamaru barked, Kiba exclaimed, holy crap, he did it. Hinata was relieved. As their teammates struck Gaara square in the face, Sakura and Sasuke were gazing at him with wide eyes. Even Kakashi had to nod in agreement. He grinned and said, well, it's not exactly precise or graceful as what Sasuke and I planned. However, that's entirely your style, Naruto, he remarked, beaming with admiration for his pupil. Temari and Kankuro both had wide eyes as they exclaimed, crap, no way. He broke through Gaara's complete defense. With sheer force, she exclaimed, gazing at the fair-haired ninja as he gave his fellow Jinchuriki a fierce look. Naruto nodded and landed on the surface of the water, with Gamma landing next to him. Gamma nodded and headed back to Mount Myoboku. Thanks for the help, Gamma. You can head back now. I've got it from here, he said. Naruto said, now, as he dug through his pouch to retrieve a suppression seal. Naruto said, let's get this seal on you before anything else happens, as Gaara slowly emerged from the water, gasping for air, his face excruciatingly painful, his hand gripping his nose. Up until he noticed tiny specks of red land in the water and felt something warm and sticky drip down his nose. What the heck is this? Gaara exclaimed, glancing at the tiny droplets of crimson liquid while Baki, Kankuro, and Temari's eyes grew wide with panic. Shit. Bad. When Gaara withdrew his hand and revealed something he had seen 1,000 times before but had never seen from himself, they became alarmed. "Blood, blood?" he exclaimed, feeling his hand tremble. His heart began to beat faster than before, instantly making him wonder, "Is this my blood?" Before he let out a scream. His right eye turned gold with a black sclera and a 4-point star with 4 dots on each side, and he cried out to the sky, "Blood, it's my blood," as the sand began to squirm around him. Sakura exclaimed, What is that?" as the sand turned into a nightmare and Hinata looked up in terror, her heart racing. Kakashi shook his head and Guy yelled, "Kakashi, what is that?" As the sand encircled Gaara, he exclaimed, "I don't know, but something tells me it's not good." Suddenly, his right arm and the right side of his face changed into something terrifying. Gaara's body started to change, and Naruto was frozen solid. Sand rapidly gathered around him as he gradually lost control of the monster inside. "Shit, don't tell me, that's," Naruto thought to himself as Gaara suddenly appeared in front of him, his right arm covered in a sand version of the One Tails, and a single tail swishing around him. "The One Tails," Naruto uttered as Gaara looked up and gave him a crazy smile. Genma was afraid of the monster in front of him, so he peered worriedly at it. "What is this?" As he contemplated ending the match, he questioned. "This is not good, damn it." Gazing up at the Kazukage's stand, Bucky thought. Gaara started his transformation. Why haven't Kabuto or Lord Rasa announced the attack yet? As Gaara's sand-like tail swished behind him, Bucky asked himself. Beneath his mask, Orochimaru was smiling at the One Tails Jinchuriki. "Is this the One Tails then? How intriguing. I find it surprising that the nine-tailed brat was able to bring the Sand's Jinchuriki to this level of development. This is rather entertaining itself. I was hoping Sasuke would test his mettle against such a formidable opponent and see how long he would last before succumbing to the curse mark's power." He glanced down to where Kabuto was stationed and gave a subdued hand signal to his faithful assistant. "Kabuto, let's just see how this goes down." Observing the subdued gesture, Kabuto nodded while hiding behind his Anbu mask and bided his time. "Got it, Lord Orochimaru. Let's see what else you can do, Naruto." Kabuto grinned, growing equally interested in the match between Gaara and Naruto. Gaara's eyes went crazy, and he raised his monstrous right arm, saying, "I want more." He yelled, "Show me more, Uzumaki," and hurled the long appendage at Naruto, who swore and ducked out of his path. Naruto swore as the sand arm broke through the wall and created a hole big enough for water to shoot out, saying, "Damn it. So this is the One Tails chakra." Before long, the water in the arena was only ankle deep, and Gaara was beaming at the boy maniacally. Gaara said, drooling as crazy demon eyes replaced his own, "You pushed me this far. No one has ever pushed me this far. I thought I could only prove my existence if I fought the Uchiha. But you hurt me, make me bleed. I will prove my existence if I kill you. Show me more, Uzumaki." He cried, launching himself at the blonde who was lucky enough to dodge his blows. Crossing his fingers, Naruto exclaimed, "Damn! This guy is insane." He yelled, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," as more of his clones materialized. "This guy's using the One Tails chakra, we need to get the seal on him." The clones yelled, "Right," as they pulled out kunai knives and focused wind chakra into them. Gaara reared back his sand arm, seeming to cackle at this. With a shout, he said, "Yes, show me more. Prove that I exist," and extended his arm directly towards Naruto, who ducked with his clones. The clones tried to slash at Gaara's back with their kunai knives as they raced towards him, but the sand tail blocked their attack and threw them back. Gaara yelled, "Pathetic. Is that all you got?" just as 2 more clones leapt in front of him. "Water style. Water bullet jutsu," they exclaimed, unleashing a pair of powerful, pressurized water blasts that knocked Gaara back. However, as he stopped just short of the wall, his sand arm carved itself into the earth. Gaara yelled, "That won't work on me," as more sand began to cover his body. He yelled, "Show me that my existence has meaning," and launched projectiles that resembled sand at him. Naruto yelled, "Shit! Evade!" as he and the clones tried to avoid the hail of sand projectiles. Earth style. Mud wall. He was able to defend himself by building an earthen wall as the projectiles rained down on the arena, destroying multiple clones in the process. Gaara cried out, "Fight me! Fight me! Prove my existence!" as he began to assume more and more of the One Tails form and more sand began to cover his body. As Kiba observed the sand ninja gradually lose his mind, he exclaimed, "Shit, This guy is insane. This is a whole other level of scary. I thought he was scary back in the forest, Kiba remarked, Hinata appearing even more frightened than before. Naruto-kun, she uttered, worried for her crush's well-being. Sakura swallowed the fear in her throat and said, holy cow. This is insane. Why doesn't he just give up? He had a few good moves, but this Gaara is way too strong. She expressed concern for her teammate and said, I don't know Ino, but I do know this. Naruto doesn't give up. Even when the odds aren't in his favor. Kurenai shook her head and Asuma said, this isn't good, this Gaara has completely lost his mind. Why hasn't Genma just called the match yet? I don't think even Genma is brave enough or strong enough to stop this match, not to mention, Naruto still hasn't thrown in the towel. By all accounts, this is still an official match. It doesn't end till either one of them surrenders or dies, she said as she held onto her fist. He chastised himself, and Sasuke scowled. I warned Naruto this could happen, but he didn't want to listen. Damn it. I should have done more, sensei. Please forgive me. He yelled, damn it Naruto, this isn't like you. Stop acting like a scaredy cat and face him, while observing his rival and teammate struggle to survive. Naruto, meantime, was leaning against the mud wall he had constructed to catch his breath as the sandstorms subsided. Naruto muttered to himself as he hid behind the earth wall, damn, this guy is nuts. Glancing around him, he enumerated his gear. Naruto questioned himself as he peered out from the wall and glared at Gaara. I only have a few more explosive tags left, some shuriken and kunai, and I'm out of the storage scrolls that contain water. I'll admit this is not good. He's too strong. I don't know if I can beat him. However, as he did so, he noticed something familiar in his eyes. Eyes that he used to have. Sitting alone on the swing, Naruto's thoughts wandered back to the past. His eyes. They have the same loneliness mine had in the past. In the past, he stood alone as adults and parents glared at him. When I was younger, I detested everyone who glared at me because I never understood why they hated me so much. Their glares became so much colder, so much more painful. I hated it. He recalled the cold stares, hatred, and contempt they directed at him, bringing back painful memories of his early years. However, he felt a warmth inside of him as memories of Iruka's kindness, Kakashi's protection, his rivalry with Sasuke, the times Sakura was kind to him, and the enjoyable conversations he had with Hinata streamed through his mind. However, I now have people I must protect and who I care about, because if I don't, I'll be alone once more. He clenched his fist, dreading the idea. And I'll never return to that way of living. With a determined thought, Naruto tried to think of a plan. His gaze was drawn to the tail, and he had an idea when he realized the sand wasn't completely covering his feet. He sensed that one would be exactly what he needed. In the meantime, Gaara noticed a change in his expression, which irritated him for unknown reasons. He was staring at him with those eyes. Why, oh, why? Unlike every other pair of eyes he had encountered, these eyes did not inspire fear or hatred, which he had long since come to detest. It was nearly identical to. As though he comprehended him. When he returned to Naruto, he pulled out an explosive tag and a kunai, securing the tag around the handle in preparation for an attack. The clones nodded when he called forth multiple of them. Let's do this, he exclaimed, leaping out from behind the wall with the clones. As she saw Naruto continue to try to battle an insane Gaara, Ino cried out, holy shit. Is Naruto insane? Why doesn't he just give up? Gaara's way too strong. Sakura said, Naruto doesn't know when to quit, as Ino turned to face her. It's just the way he's been, she remarked, causing Hinata to grip her shirt anxiously. Naruto-kun, please take care, Hinata pleaded. With a smile on his face, Gaara reached out to embrace Naruto. But two clones used their bodies to deflect the attack, getting in the way. As he raced in the direction of Gaara, another clone grabbed Naruto by the collar and threw him over the arm. Before Naruto could stop his other arm with two more clones, Gaara tried to swat the boy out of the air. Meanwhile, the real Naruto turned over on his back and landed behind Gaara. He held the kunai and pushed it forward. As Naruto bellowed at the top of his lungs, Team 7 thought, wait, don't tell me he's going to. He yelled, secret hidden leaf village jutsu, and thrust the kunai up his ass. 1,000 years of death. Almost everyone gawked in disbelief. Some, like Kiba, Ino, Kuiji, Shikamaru, and almost Shino, even passed out. Hinata covered her face with her hands, while Sakura and Sasuke palmed their faces. His fellow Jonin blanched and turned to Kakashi, almost toppling over, his expression suggesting, seriously? Even the Hokage's eyes widened slightly at what he saw, but Orochimaru just stared blankly. It's unbelievable that he believed it to be a genuine jutsu, lamented Kakashi as Gaara turned back to face Naruto, who merely gave him a nervous smile. Oh my goodness, this is going to hurt. Gaara then launched himself upward toward the stands, slamming into a pillar before he caught himself on the railing. Ow, he uttered while getting to his feet. Sakura cried, Naruto, you idiot. Why did you waste your moment on a stupid jutsu like that? As Naruto stood up slowly, smiled, and said. Boom. Gaara was nearly knocked off his feet by a huge explosion that hit him. They were taken aback by it and their eyes widened. Gaara's form was damaged when the smoke cleared because his right side of the sand was falling quite a bit. Kiba exclaimed, holy crap, what just happened? I see. Naruto figured that Gaara's new form was more durable, except for underneath where the tail was. So he used a seemingly stupid jutsu to hide the fact he had a dangerous explosive tied around the handle, Tenten said with a slight chuckle. You are the most unpredictable hyperactive ninja of them all, Naruto. Who would have thought he'd take a small joke and turn it into a dangerous weapon? Kakashi uttered as Gaara moaned in agony. With his sand defenses severely weakened, Gaara thought, damn it. Who'd have thought he'd target my weak point with such a pathetic attack? My right side has become too unstable. Kankuro exclaimed, as surprised as Tamari, crap. What the hell is this guy? I've never seen anyone push Gaara like this before. They noticed Naruto get back up while keeping his hand on the railing. Me too, I didn't think it was possible. Who is this guy? She said. Ah. That was dangerous. But worth it, Naruto moaned, glancing down at Gaara to see the harm he had caused. However, he remained standing and prepared to continue fighting in spite of that. Kurenai watched Gaara snarl loudly and said, You're kidding me, even after an attack like that he still wants to keep going. Asuma nodded and she continued, that kid's a monster. He turned to face Naruto, who was getting back up after a severe crash, and said, I agree, it's clear he's not some ordinary genin. As Naruto got to his feet, he remarked, and something tells me, Naruto knows that. He's not down yet, I must continue. Naruto stood up, holding his side where his ribs ached. Whoa, hold on a second, Naruto. Kiba turned to face him, yelling, what the hell are you thinking, man? This guy is far too tough. Give up now, there's no point in continuing the fight. As Sakura and Ino nodded, he yelled. He is correct. You don't need to put yourself in such danger. Just forfeit the game. Shouting, Ino exclaimed, and Naruto shook his head, turning to face Gaara before turning back to them. Their eyebrows shot up as he said, I can't, not yet. What are you trying to say? This isn't worthy of a promotion, Naruto. Simply tag out. You're going to kill yourself if you continue. Sakura yelled as Naruto continued to focus on Gaara. I know, but there's more to this than just getting promoted, he said, casting a sorrowful glance at Gaara. I know what Gaara's been through. I know what that life is like, that loneliness. I know what it's like, and I thought that was the reason he was strong. But no, that's not strength. That's just sad, and I know what that's like, he added, turning to face his student, Hinata, who had long since watched him from a distance and felt her heart ache for him. He put his hands together, remembering the ninja who had helped to forge his ninja way and the memories of Haku swirling through his mind. But not only that, he'll hurt someone if he keeps going on like this, he said, glaring. And I made a promise, that I'd never back down, never give up, and most of all, he began to build up his chakra. That no matter what, I will defend my friends. As chakra burst from his body in a blue firestorm, he yelled, shocking everyone with the sheer volume of chakra that poured out of him. Watching the chakra roll off him like flames, Kiba thought, holy crap, how does he still have this much chakra? Ino was astounded, and everyone around her had to protect themselves from the chakra swirling around him. No way. How can he have so much chakra? Ino exclaimed. Sakura looked at Naruto, who was standing in front of her, and exclaimed, this chakra. How does he have so much? Sasuke was staring at Naruto in shock, unable to believe the power radiating from him. He asked, so much chakra. Is this Naruto? Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy were almost as shocked as the others, but they managed to conceal it better. Even Hiyashi was taken aback by the amount of chakra radiating off Naruto. I knew he had a great amount of chakra, but not even I thought it was this much. Kakashi asked, Naruto. Is this your power, the one you want to protect your friends with? Hiyashi Hyuga was tempted to use his Buikan to see the vast amount of chakra that was rolling off the boy, but he was afraid that he might go blind from staring at it. This child, This is not the Nine Tails power, this is all his natural chakra. What is he? Hiyashi Hyuga wondered. Up in the cage box, Sarutobi smirked as he watched the child of his successor, while Orochimaru grew more intrigued by the chakra radiating off the boy and considered having him captured to experiment on. The research he could gain from such a subject could help him make Sasuke the perfect vessel. Satutobi cheered as Naruto crossed his fingers and yelled, thinking, "This is it, Naruto. Show me everything you can do." Many shadow clone technique. A huge explosion of smoke engulfed the arena as he yelled, and then the smoke cleared, revealing an enormous number of Naruto clones scattered throughout the stadium. Holy shit! How is it possible for him to create so many shadow clones at once? Asuma exclaimed, both he and Kurenai equally taken aback. This is not possible at all. At least 1,000 clones must exist, Kurenai remarked. I've never seen anyone make so many clones, as Guy appeared to beam broadly. His springtime of youth is truly unlike anything I've ever seen. As Kakashi peered out among the clones, Guy uttered those words. You're always going too far, Naruto. This is the most clones I've seen since the Wave mission, he thought to himself. What the fucking hell is this guy? Who is he? As he and Temari stared in stunned amazement, Kankuro yelled in disbelief. What sort of shinobi is there in the Leaf Village? As the friends of Naruto gaped in amazement, Temari spoke. How inconceivable! How come he can create so many clones? Kiba yelled, surveying all the clones. Those aren't just regular clones, Kiba. Those are 100% solid clones, Hinata remarked, staring at her crush. Naruto-kun. You're so amazing, Hinata exclaimed, admiring him as he stood erect in front of them. Sakura exclaimed, whoa. I never thought Naruto could do all this, as she turned to face Naruto. Is this Naruto? She asked herself, while Sasuke, equally as shocked as everyone else, was fixated on the numerous clones. Sasuke questioned, Naruto, how much stronger have you become? As Naruto slammed his fist against his palm and gestured to Gaara. All right. Let's defeat him. Gaara raised his left arm in defense, but that was only a ploy as Naruto swept in from underneath and kicked Gaara into the air. Then the clones that had just kicked went through hand signs as they yelled. Naruto shouted as his clones pounced into action. Several of them threw shurikens. Amazing breakthrough jutsu in wind style. They shouted as they blew a huge gust of wind at Gaara and sent his body soaring into the air. Gaara was discombobulated as he shot up into the air, only to be met by a barrage of Naruto as they flashed through hand signs and shouted. Water style. Water bullet jutsu. They yelled at him and pelted him with shots of pressurized water, further damaging his sand. Gaara thought, what's happening to me? How am I losing? Before his eyes grew wide at the numerous Narutos above him who were slamming him with so many punches that he was losing count. Uzumaki. 1,000 combo attack. They shouted as they pummeled him with fist after fist. Now. Water style. Water bullet. Yelled Naruto as he and the clones simultaneously performed hand signals. Gaara hit the ground hard enough to split the earth as they yelled and pelted him with water blasts repeatedly until he lay in a small crater, his body hurting and his sand getting more erratic. No way. Ichi's defeating Gaara, Kankuro exclaimed, looking in shock. Temari said, looking terrified, this is not good. If this keeps up, then he'll. All right. He's lost it. Let's quickly apply the suppression seal to him. As he and his clones hurried to put Gaara down, Naruto gave the order. As he lay on his back, Gaara tried to make sense of what was happening. His mind flashed back to the hospital, where he had seen fear in the Uzumaki's eyes. Only this time it was fear replaced with strength and determination. This is impossible. How can I be losing to someone like him? Where did this strength come from? And why are his eyes so different? Gaara's pupils shrank as he was losing his mind. I'm not going to lose to you. A massive amount of sand shot up from the ground, warping around Gaara and taking out multiple Naruto clones at once, sending Naruto smashing into the wall, shouted Gaara. How inconceivable is this? As the sand piled up and broke through a significant portion of the arena wall, forcing Genma to retreat until he was safe, Naruto was able to let out a groan. What's happening here? Under his mask, Orochimaru grinned as Genma yelled. Well, it's here at last. It's not exactly how I had planned it, but it will do for now, Orochimaru smiled as dust began to cover the stands. How inconceivable, what's going on? Some fans in the stadium cried out, momentarily blinded by the dust, I can't see a thing. When the dust settled, Everyone's eyes widened in horror as they peered up at the sight of a massive, sand-based creature with blue markings etched all over it. Its eyes and face had black markings, and its iris was a dull yellow color. Its tail was swishing back and forth. Hinata's eyes widened in terror as Kiba yelled, "What the hell is that?" Sakura looked up, shaking from fear, and Ino yelled, Oh God! What the hell's going on here?" "Oh God, Naruto is fighting that," the woman exclaimed, as Sasuke was astounded by what he was witnessing. Kankuro hissed, "Crap, this isn't good," as Baki, Tamari, and he all turned to face the enormous-tailed beast in terror. She hissed, too, "This is bad, where the hell is that signal?" as Shino turned to face them. Signal? Hold on, were they aware of this? Gazing up at the enormous tanuki, Shino wondered. Kakashi. "That's," exclaimed Guy as Kakashi gave a nod. Yes, without a doubt, he uttered as memories of the past 12 years flashed through his and the other Jonin's minds, causing them to look up in horror. He grimly exclaimed, "A tailed beast." Right in the middle of the village, as everyone looked up in fear. Sarutobi slowly turned to face the cage, who did the same. So, that's the one Tails. Then this is how the sand was planning to invade us, he thought to himself. There was tension in the air as they got ready to initiate contact. As Baki prepared to launch his men into battle, he thought, so, it's almost started. About time. As Kabuto and his soldiers prepared to begin the genjutsu. "I suppose this is the only thing you can do, Naruto. I'm sorry to see you go so soon." Kabuto grinned as Naruto turned to face the enormous creature. Gazing at the enormous tanuki, Naruto exclaimed, "So that's the one Tails tanuki." Gaara glared at Naruto, looking down with his massive form. Raising his enormous arm, Gaara exclaimed, "You pushed me to this form. I never thought anyone could push me to this form." Sand curled around Naruto's form and suddenly he was surrounded by it. Naruto exclaimed, "What the hell?" as the sand rapidly encircled him. When Genma attempted to save him, sand got in the way. "Naruto!" shouted his friends as Sasuke and Kakashi swore and used their Sharingan. When a wall of sand blocked the way that Kakashi, Sasuke, and Guy took to save his student, he cried out, "Shit, hold on Naruto. Guy, help me." As they attempted to use Reikiri and Chidori to cut through the sand, Kakashi and Sasuke both charged chakra into their hands. They barely made it through, though, because the sand was too thick. Guy yelled, "Damn it, he's blocked us," as Lee looked up in alarm. Tenten shook in terror as he spoke, clutching his crutches, I was fighting that." Conversely, Hinata was trembling with terror. She saw through the curling sand, not for her own life, but for Naruto's. She cried out in fear, "No, Naruto-kun," because she had no idea what would happen to her crush. Naruto was attempting to dig his way out of the sand in the meantime, but it was not possible. "Oh no, I'm unable to stop it." As he picked at the sand, Naruto swore. Shit, shit, shit. I'm nearly out of chakra and I'm stuck. I'm going to die, **T. But when he saw the wall of sand, he came to a stop and began making hand signals while wiping some blood off his chin. At that moment, he thought of his friends. Gaara yelled, "This is your end," as he prepared to apply the sand burial technique. Gaara squeezed his hand and all of his senses and friends yelled, "Naruto, up and tell." Naruto yelled, summoning jutsu, and all the sand was blown away in a massive cloud of smoke, forcing everyone to cover their eyes. Kiba screamed, trying to block the sand and smoke with his arms. "Seriously, what now?" Ino exclaimed, "I have no idea," as she and the others took cover from the smoke. However, once the dust settled, their eyes grew wide as they saw a massive toad the same size standing in front of the enormous tanuki. It was the leader of the toads, not just any toad. Sarutobi yelled, "Gamabunta," upon seeing the boss of the toad summons. Incredible. The toad boss was summoned by a child. When Orochimaru noticed the enormous toad in the center of the Eren. He lost his sense of strategy. Kiba exclaimed, "Holy crap. That's a huge toad," as he and the others were equally astounded. As she and Sasuke gazed up in amazement, Sakura questioned, Did Naruto summon that? Is this the power of Naruto?" Sasuke clenched his fist tightly and looked up in shock. "I don't believe it," declared Kakashi, along with the other Jonin, in disbelief at what they saw when the boss of the toads appeared in front of them. But then, with his back to the throng, his gaze focused only on the boy perched atop his head. And for one brief instant, Kakashi could have sworn he saw his sensei in front of him. Sensei? he said that before it went back to Naruto, who was standing on the toad's head in front of them. Naruto abruptly spoke, "I made a promise." As everyone turned to face the boy, with a fierce determination in his eyes, Naruto looked up and yelled, "That I will protect everyone I care about. And I never go back on my word." Two titans prepared to engage in a historical battle faced off in front of the gathered crowd during the final rounds of the Chunin Exams. The current Jinchuriki of Shukaku, the One-Tails Tanuki, Gaara of the Sand, was on one side, while Gamabunta, the boss of the Toad Summons, was on the other. Naruto Uzumaki, the current Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, was standing on the head of the road. It was startling to see the same summon that the fourth Hokage had used 13 years prior, but even more so when Gaara's tailed beast form suddenly materialized. Kiba exclaimed, "Holy hell," as he and the others stared at the enormous toad with Naruto perched atop it. With everyone else looking equally astounded, he exclaimed, "What the hell kind of match is this? I have to admit, this is much more than I had anticipated," Tenten remarked, gazing up at the enormous creatures. "Makes me kind of glad I lost in the preliminaries." Asuma exclaimed, "Holy Kakashi, what the heck is this kid?" She couldn't believe a genin could summon a boss-level summons on his own. Gazing upon his former mentor's summon, Kakashi remarked, "To be honest, he surprises me just as much as you. Though I must say I never thought I'd see Gamabunta again." Sakura said, "Kakashi-sensei, do you know what that thing is?" And Kakashi nodded. "His name is Gamabunta. He's considered the boss of the Toad Summons. To summon him requires a massive amount of chakra. He was once my former sensei's, the fourth Hokage's, personal summon. The last time anyone saw him was 13 years ago during the Nine Tails attack," Kakashi clarified as everyone stared at the enormous toad. Kakashi mentally compared what was happening to Naruto as he watched him stand on Gamabunta's head and cross his arms, thinking how ironic it was that he was doing exactly what his father had done years before, facing down a tailed beast. "All right, this is getting ugly. Gaara appears to have transformed into his tailed beast form. I'll have to investigate that further. But right now, I should be concentrating on removing him from the other's grasp and defeating Gaara. I won't lie, it will be difficult. However, with Gamabunta's assistance, I should be able to apply the suppression seal." Naruto got ready mentally. Gamabunta's voice boomed, "Hey, what the hell am I doing back in the human world?" As Naruto peered down, Gamabunta looked up at Naruto's head and said, "Sorry, but I kind of need your help." Gazing around, Gamabunta exclaimed, "Oh, it's you again." He then saw Gaara's form. Gamabunta looked at Shukaku and cried, "Are you kidding me? Have I been summoned to fight another tailed beast?" As he blew smoke out of his pipe. Naruto yelled down to the unresponsive toad, "Listen Gamabunta, I need your help. This guy is seriously dangerous and I need your help to stop him." He said, "Nope, not going to happen," as almost everyone, including Naruto, fell to the ground. Naruto yelled, "What?" while Kakashi sighed. Kakashi recalled what his master had told him about Gamabunta and said, "Oh, I forgot, Minato-sensei said that Gamabunta was often a rather difficult summon to command." Asuma said, "That's not good, if Naruto can't command the boss to help, we'll be in serious trouble," while the two were arguing in front of him and the other people. Naruto exclaimed, "What the heck? Why won't you help?" as Gamabunta removed the pipe from his mouth and tapped out the ash, leaving a large pile on the ground. Gamabunta put the pipe back in his mouth and said, "No, he's not Nine Tails, but the Shukaku of the Sands is no laughing matter. Tailed beasts are a pain in the neck to fight. Besides, why should I listen to you? Granted I have accepted you as my underling, but we haven't even sealed the deal with a cup of sake." Naruto scratched his head and exclaimed, "Are you kidding me right now? I'm not even 20 yet. I can't drink sake. Forget that. Listen, this guy is trouble. Please help me with this. I promise to make it up to you, but right now my friends are in danger unless I stop him." Gamabunta said indifferently as Naruto scowled and became angrier, "Why should you be the one to fight him? Doesn't this seem above your pay grade? Best leave it to someone else." Naruto exclaimed, "Why you, huh?" just as feathers began to fall all around him. As soon as everyone in the stands noticed the feathers falling, Naruto exclaimed, "What is?" Gamabunta and the others noticed the feathers falling all around them and thought, what the? This is," he uttered as the shinobi in the stands remained vigilant. Guy said, "Kakashi," and Kakashi gave a nod. "Yes, a genjutsu," Kakashi replied, nodding to Chunin along with the other jonin. They brought their hands together. As the genjutsu was removed from them, they yelled, "Release!" Kiba. exclaimed Hinata as she and her companions nodded in recognition of the genjutsu. Fortunately, for the previous few months, they had been trained by the genjutsu specialist. They yelled, "Release!" and destroyed the genjutsu. When Sakura and Sasuke dispelled the genjutsu, they also observed that everyone was falling around them. Sakura yelled, "Sasuke, what's going on?" while Sasuke gave her a fierce look. He said, "Nothing good," and Sakura's eyes grew wide. She exclaimed, "Wait, what about Naruto? He can't undo genjutsu," as Sasuke swore and turned to face the toad, causing Naruto to begin to sway. Naruto exclaimed, "Holy crap, this is a genjutsu," as the effect began to wear off. "No, not once more," Naruto muttered, bringing his hands together. As he dispelled the genjutsu on him and released his chakra, he yelled, "Release," he said. "Damn, that was close. Gamabunta, are you okay?" and got a nod in response from the boss toad. Then his eyes narrowed. "I'm fine, a genjutsu of this caliber is too weak to work on me," he said. He remarked, "But a genjutsu now can mean only one thing," as Kanuto grinned behind his mask and the genjutsu began to work. The tension between the two cage had increased in the cage box, and Sarutobi was glaring at the cage. "Pardon me, Lord Orochimaru, but I figured it would best to start the invasion," Kabuto bet. Sarutobi questioned, "Lord Cage, what is the meaning of this?" while the cage smiled. His two bodyguards charged forward and detonated a smoke bomb as he posed a rhetorical question, "Shall we?" The bomb burst into a cloud of smoke and there was the sound of metal hitting metal. When Baki, Tamari, and Kankuro saw the signal, their eyes grew narrower. "The operation has started, it took them long enough," Baki sighed. As they hurried to the cage box, an Anbu team simultaneously noticed the smoke. Captain Zo of the Anbu led his team forward, shouting, "Lee team, above with me to assist the Hokage. RO team, below and protect the dignitaries." Two of the cage's bodyguards immediately confronted them and split the two in half. Zo yelled, "Get out of my way," as he and his men charged ahead. However, the Hokage and the cage emerged from the smoke, with the cage landing on the roof and holding the elderly man captive with a kunai at his throat. The halved remnants of the cage's bodyguards suddenly materialized as four sound shinobi, and he yelled, "Now!" Standing on the four corners, a man with two heads, a man with 6 arms, a woman with red hair, and a large man with orange hair all activated their combined jutsu. They cried out, "Ninja art! 4 violet flames formation!" as a barrier made of purple cubes encircled the rooftop. When one of the Anbu attempted to breach the barrier, he fell off the roof and was instantly set on fire. Gazing at the barrier, Zo expressed his frustration, saying, "Damn, a barrier jutsu. We aren't getting through that," as he and his team could only observe. Naruto turned to face the cage box and exclaimed, "What the hell's going on?" His eyes grew wide as the purple barrier materialized. Naruto exclaimed, "Old man," as a few Anbu leapt out in front of him, revealing themselves to be sound ninjas. Naruto yelled at Gambunta, "Not good, kid. It looks like you summoned me in the middle of an invasion." Naruto yelled, "What, an invasion?" as the Sand and Sound Ninja launched their assault on the spectators. As 2 sound ninjas charged at them, Naruto yelled, "Crap! Sasuke! Sakura-chan! Hinata!" Kakashi then killed them with 2 kunai strikes to the head with ease. As the battle began, Kakashi grimly exclaimed, "Sasuke, protect Sakura and stay down. The Chunin exams are officially over. Now the real battle begins." When the Sand and Sound ninjas noticed the smoke outside close to the walls, they quickly understood what it meant. The alert had been sent. The invasion was now imminent. As they called forth multiple enormous snakes close to the village's boundaries, the Sand Ninja turned on the summoning jutsu. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes and peered at the explosion. He flexed his hand and said, "So, they've made their move." He grinned and bounded forward, saying, "I guess I should get to work." Within the arena, the fallen citizens, officials, and lords were being attacked by the Sand and Sound shinobi while the Leaf Ninja fought back. Sakura cried out, "Kakashi-sensei! What's going on?" as she hid next to the chairs, Ino and Choji unconscious from the genjutsu. Saying, "The Sand and Sound have allied themselves and are invading, Sakura," Kakashi stood up for his pupils. Kakashi narrowed his eyes and remarked, "It looks like they had been planning this for a while, and were waiting on Gaara to transform." He continued, "Which means he's key to the invasion," as Naruto peered out into the mayhem. Naruto turned to face Gaara and exclaimed, "Crap, this is not good. Why the hell is the Sand and Sound invading us? Wait. Is he also involved in the invasion? If so, congratulations to Gamabunta, Naruto exclaimed, catching the toad's attention. He yelled, please help me. We need to stop Gaara now. Gamabunta questioned, and why should I? This isn't my fight. Why should I risk my life fighting that demon? Naruto gave him a fierce look before standing squarely in front of him. Listen, asshole. I don't have time for your attitude. My friends are in danger and I can't help them unless I take that guy down. You helped my dad years ago with the 9 tails, so I'm begging you to help me now, please. They're the only thing I have close to a family. He begged as he grasped the toads. And I don't plan on losing any of them, he declared resolutely as the toad looked into the boy's eyes and recognized the image of his former summoner standing in front of him. All right, brat, he uttered as Naruto gave him a start. He drew his blade and said, I'll help you in this fight, you are my underling after all. He exclaimed, now, let me show you what we toads can do. Naruto grinned, then threw on a serious expression and nodded. Naruto hopped back onto the toad's head and said, thanks, Gamabunta, we just need to stop Gaara. I have a way that could suppress his chakra. But it's too crowded in here, we need to take this battle somewhere else. Away from the civilians. However, not before calling forth a shadow clone. The Naruto clone nodded and he gave the order, go find Kakashi sensei. Tell him I'll try to lure Gaara away from here. The clone exclaimed, on it, and leapt to the ground as Naruto returned his focus to Gaara. Naruto remarked, now, let's get him away from here, as Gamabunta raised his blade in self-defense. Gaara roared, getting agitated, and Gamabunta asked, and how do you suppose we do that? He raised his arm and threw a wave of sand at the two, yelling, Uzumaki. Naruto, face me. Gamabunta nodded, and Naruto exclaimed, I don't think that will be a problem, he's super pissed at me. He yelled, fine by me. Hold on tight, as Gamabunta lunged ahead and then leapt, almost knocking everyone off their feet with the tremendous gust of wind that followed. Sand crashed into the dirt, missing the target. Gaara looked away to follow Gamabunta and Naruto as they soar above his head. He yelled, come back here, face me, as he spun the enormous body around and started to pursue them out of the stadium. Tamari nodded and Kankuro yelled, crap, this isn't good. Gaara's going off the reservations, as they watched the enormous beast lumber out of the stadium. She turned to Kankuro and shouted, let's find Baki-sensei, he might know what to do, before leaping off. As this was going on, Baki and Genma were squaring off with their kunai. Genma said, so, the sand has betrayed us, while Baki gave her a fierce look. Snarling, they both leapt away, this is necessary, our idiot feudal lord left us no choice. As Baki turned to face Tamari and Kankuro, he heard, Baki, Tamari exclaimed. Gaara's wandered off after the Uzumaki, what should we do? While Baki continued to focus on Genma. Go after him, this operation is a complete disaster. The Uzumaki has proven to be more troublesome than expected. Find Gaara, and do the following. If he's managed to kill the Uzumaki, then try and lead Gaara to the village. If the Uzumaki has defeated him, then retrieve Gaara and leave, that is an order, Baki said as both of them nodded. Kankuro said, understood, come on Tamari, as they leapt after their sibling. Shino, in the meantime, had been observing them but concluded it would be best to meet up with his sensei and let her know what was going on. Prior to now, Kakashi and the others were occupied defending the civilians while fending off the sand and sound ninja. As he used a kunai to take down another, Kakashi commanded, Asuma, Kurenai, protect the civilians. While fending off the sound and sand shinobi, Kurenai exclaimed, what about the third? We can't just leave him up there. Asuma slashed an enemy in half and exclaimed, with that barrier up, I doubt any of us are going to be of any use to him. Just focus on the enemy before us. Asuma held up his blades and remarked, besides, my old man isn't going to let it get in his way of protecting the village. It's his job after all. They felt the wind from Gamabunta's leaping suddenly, and some of the leaf shinobi took advantage of it to turn the tide of battle. As he stood in front of Hinata to shield her, Kiba yelled, shit, where's he going? As Hinata hid close to the bleachers. They heard, Kakashi-sensei, as Naruto leapt in their direction. Kakashi remarked, Naruto? No, a shadow clone, as the clone sidestepped the sand ninja. The clone nodded and he asked, I'm guessing you're leading Gaara away from the stadium? The clone turned to face the retreating form of Gaara and said, yeah, the real me wanted to let you know he's going to try and lure Gaara away. He thinks he's key to this invasion and figured it was best to lead him away. He said, the guy is really mad at us, and Kakashi nodded. I see, Good work, but I don't think it's wise for him to be on his own. Sasuke and Sakura, go after the real Naruto. Gaara is more dangerous than I realized. Get to him as fast as you can. Kakashi told Sakura and Sasuke with a "I want to come too," Kiba and Hinata exclaimed as they approached them. The clone turned to face Hinata and said, "Hinata, are you okay?" She nodded. She said, "I'm fine, but Naruto-kun needs our help," and Kiba nodded in agreement. Kiba shrugged and Akamaru barked, "Yeah, Gaara is insane, but the idiot will need all the help he can get, no offense, dude." He whispered under his breath, none taken. Dog breath, as Kurenai materialized next to the genin. As Hinata opened her mouth to argue, Kurenai put a hand on her shoulder and said, "Hinata, I'm sorry, but I can't let you go with them. You're still recuperating and you may just slow them down. I need you to stay here, and help protect the others, understand?" "No, she's right. Hinata, you still haven't recovered completely," the clone of Naruto stated, glancing at him. "I know you're strong, but right now the real me would just be worried about you if he found out you were in danger. So please, stay here where it's safe," he asked her with a nod. "I will, I promise," she replied, giving the Naruto clone a nod. "Hold on, when did Hinata and Naruto become so close?" Sakura observed the brief conversation and inquired. "Thanks, I'll see if I can make a few more clones. They won't be much, but they should be able to help protect the civilians. Sorry, but if I spread any more of my chakra, I'm afraid I will dispel," the clone replied with a nod. Kakashi nodded to the genin, understood. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba will go after Naruto, while we stay here and protect the civilians. They heard Shino say, "I will come too," as he emerged. It looks as though the siblings of Gaara are going after him as well. Naruto may not stand a chance against all three of them. "I managed to place one of my bugs on them, so tracking them will be easy," he said while Kurenai and Kakashi nodded. As he sidestepped a kunai, Kakashi remarked, "Good thinking, Shino. It's not wise to send a large group, but at the moment, you lot are safer in numbers." They heard, "I will come as well," and turned to see Neji and Tenten running toward them from behind. "Neji!" Hinata exclaimed, stumbling a little. As Neji nodded, she said, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine. My injuries were healed by the medics, and Tenten got me out of the infirmary just as the invasion started. I would advise you to head back to the Hyuga compound, Lady Hinata. It's not safe for you," he told Kiba with a brow raised. Kiba glared at the branch member and said, "Since when do you care about her? You put her in the hospital in the first place." Tenten yelled, "Can we not argue about this? There's a war going on," while Neji gave a nod. "No, it's fine. I'm aware of what I did, but my battle with Naruto has given me a new perspective, and I realize I was being childish, and ask for your forgiveness," Neji said with a sigh. She spoke with a surprising determination that surprised both Kurenai and him. "It is okay, Neji, but like Kiba said, nowhere is truly safe. The Hyuga compound is too far, and my father has already taken Hanabi back with him during the chaos. Besides, I am still a kunoichi, I have to help," she said. Neji nodded as the Naruto clone spoke, "And I'll look after her. I may be a clone, but I'm not going to let anyone hurt her, you have my word." Neji grinned and said, "You better, Uzumaki, or the next time we fight, I won't go easy on you." Kakashi cut his thumb, went through hand signals, and put his palm on the ground before saying, "Well then, if that's all sorted," he exclaimed, summoning jutsu. As a tiny puff of smoke materialized along with a small pug donning a Leaf Village headband, tape around its right paw, and a blue jacket. The dog asked, "Hey Kakashi, what do you need?" while the majority of them blinked. Sakura questioned, "Is that a dog?" while Kakashi nodded. As the pug sniffed the air, Kakashi said, "This is Pakun, one of my best trackers. He'll be able to locate Naruto through his scent. I can already smell him. He smells like ramen noodles," Pakun remarked, evoking a sigh from Sakura and Sasuke. They both said, "Yeah, that's Naruto," and Sasuke turned to face Kakashi as the Naruto clone pouted. During the invasion, Kakashi contemplated sending Sasuke out, but he couldn't be picky because Naruto was currently engaged in a much tougher battle. "If we find Naruto, what should we do?" he asked. "Just find Naruto and get him out of there. Gaara was far stronger than I realized. If he somehow managed to defeat Gaara, capture him. If not, then get him and yourselves somewhere safe. I will defer to your judgment," he instructed while glaring at Sasuke and nodding. He said, "Understood," and Pakun then made his way over to Shikamaru. "Hey, this guy's pretending to be knocked out," Pakun said, gesturing to the unconscious Nara. Shikamaru pretended not to hear him until Pakun bit him. Shikamaru yelled, "Ow, damn it," as he removed the pug from his leg. As Shikamaru pulled him off, Kiba yelled, "Shikamaru! What the hell, man? Why are you trying to pretend to be knocked out?" Then a sound shinobi materialized behind them, ready to attack until Guy slammed him into the wall. "Because I didn't want to be attacked, this whole thing is a real drag," he said. The dying sound shinobi said, "F fast," and then Guy grinned. "Not just quickly," Guy uttered before slamming a punch through the wall. He smiled, "I'm just as strong too, with the power of youth," and gestured to Kakashi, who appeared next to them. The team nodded and leapt out of the freshly created hole, and Shikamaru sighed. "Shikamaru, go with the team and find Naruto. We'll hold off the enemy," Kakashi commanded. "What a drag," he exclaimed as he leapt for them. The clone Naruto then raised his head to glare at the barrier while considering the third Hokage. He said, "Old man," and then he crossed his fingers. He said, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," as a few more clones materialized. He addressed the clones as they nodded and drew their kunai knives. "Man, really stretching my chakra at the moment. Okay, you guys help guard Hinata and the civilians, I'm going to check on the old man," he said. The clone nodded to his fellow clones, "Work in teams, and don't get destroyed. We need to help as much as we can, but we don't have a lot of chakra left." The clone leapt away and exclaimed, "Kakashi-sensei, I'm going to check on the old man." Before Kakashi could stop another sand shinobi attack, Guy killed another man with a kick. "Wait, Naruto," he exclaimed. As he defended his unconscious students and civilians, Guy said, "He'll be fine, Kakashi. That one is just a clone after all. It's the others I'm worried about. Do you think they'll be alright?" Hinata watched the unconscious Ino, Choji, and Lee as the Naruto clones surrounded them. Standing back to back against the sand and sound forces, Kakashi and Guy uttered the words, "We've got no choice. The best we can do now is hold off the enemy." Up in the barrier, meanwhile, Sarutobi scowled as the cage tore off his face, revealing himself to be Orochimaru, his former apprentice, who, with a tiny tear starting to form in his eye, peered out among the chaos of the invasion. "Are you really this content to watch your former residence burn like a match on a fire, or are you maybe happier?" Sarutobi questioned, and Orochimaru gave him a stern look before bringing the kunai knife up to his neck and severing it with his palm. Orochimaru grinned and released the third Hokage, saying, "Ah, that's better. I was just tired. I yawned too much and a tear came out of my eye." "I anticipated the same outcome," Sarutobi scowled at his pupil. "So you finally decided to come home, but I doubt this is based on vengeance for being denied the Hokage's seat. You are not the kind of man to act on those feelings. You have neither goals nor reason to do so," Sarutobi said with a smirk. Maybe, perhaps I do have a goal in mind. Well, more to say that I enjoy watching things in motion. This piece has made the world so dreadfully dull. Like a windmill that's stopped moving, it isn't worth watching. However, it can be good to watch from time to time, when the wind finally does pick up. For me, I want to get the windmill spinning again, with the wind that will start it. Is the destruction of the hidden leaf, Orochimaru said to Sarutobi. Although I must say the invasion has gone a little off track, who would have guessed the Nine-Tails brat could have interrupted so much of my plan, but I will admit, he gave quite the show. More talented than I realized, but he's still no Sasuke, but to progress so much in only a month, if he weren't the target of a certain group, I would very much like to dissect him, find out what makes him tick. He laughed when Sarutobi raised his eyebrows at this. A specific group? What subject is he discussing? He decided as he pulled off his robes to reveal his old shinobi armor. No, that's not important right now. Orochimaru smiled as he said, "You won't touch any of them. I will stop you here." "Fighting you once more, it brings back so many nostalgic memories," Orochimaru remarked, taking off his cage disguise and grinning. The four sound shinobi put up barriers around themselves and nodded. Orochimaru grinned as Sarutobi remarked, "I figured you wouldn't make it easy on me. I trained you too well for that." Orochimaru smirked as they glared at one another. "Well, I was your best student once. And even I must take precautions against the once feared god of shinobi, even if you are a decrepit old man now." It was almost time for the eagerly anticipated fight between the master and the apprentice. In the meantime, farther into the forest in order to prevent Gaara from causing any more harm, Naruto and Gamabunta lured him away from the village and landed them in the middle of the forest. Gaara wanted to kill the Uzumaki with all of his being, and he glared from behind the eyes of his sand construct. He roared, Uzumaki Naruto. Face me, as he tore through the forest, destroying everything in his path. Naruto said to the toad, who shook his head, man, he is pissed. Okay Gamabunta. This is where we hold him off. Do you think we can use toad oil and turn his sand to glass? Not likely brat, there's too much sand and you don't have enough chakra to repeat the jutsu you used with Gamma. The only way we take him down is if you take out his host. Once he's down, that walking body of his will crumble to dust. Gamabunta screamed as Naruto nodded. He raised his sword and said, okay, any suggestions on how we do that? Gamabunta nodded. He charged at the enormous sand giant, saying, we cut our way through the sand, now hold on, as his blade clashed with Gaara's arm. Gamabunta attempted to cut through the sand, but he was only able to chop off his right arm. The arm broke apart like loose sand as the enormous blade crashed into the forest. He yelled, shit, damn sand is too tough, and let go of his blade. Naruto asked, Gamabunta, you okay? And Gamabunta nodded. Gamabunta muttered as Gaara abruptly appeared on top of the sand construct, I'm fine, but that sand of his is way too tough to cut. I lost my grip just trying to cut that arm off. He made a hand gesture, chanted, and then glared at Gaara. Gamabunta exclaimed, oh boy, this is not good, as Naruto cast a downward glance at the toad. He questioned, why, what's he doing, as Gamabunta squinted. That kid. The rings around his eyes are a sign of the insomnia caused by being the Jinchuriki of the one-tailed Tanuki, Shukaku. They are constantly tormented by Sand Demon, not letting them get a good night's sleep, because of the terror Shukaku inflicts upon his hosts. The lack of sleep makes the Jinchuriki unstable and violent. But so long as the host is awake, the tailed beast is suppressed. Which I think is about to change. Casting the jutsu, Gaara exclaimed, thank you for such a fight. As a reward, I will show you the sand spirit's true power. He casts ninja art. Feigning sleep. As the one-tail's chakra flows through his body and his body goes limp. The sand tanuki took charge, and the sand construct's eyes brightened. Shukaku cried out in delight at finally being in charge after a very long time. Yahoo free at last. Ha ha ha. It's been too damn long. Shukaku turned to look at them and grinned, while Naruto and Gamabunta stared in horror. It was going to be a protracted battle, as for the enforcement team, in the interim. Following the path of devastation left by Gaara as he pursued Naruto and his toad summon, the group of Neji, Sakura, Sasuke, Kiba, Shino, and Tenten dashed through the forest. As they leapt from tree to tree, Kiba said, so any plan for when we catch up with them? I mean no offense, but you saw how big Gaara got, right? How the heck are we supposed to fight that? We're not supposed to fight Gaara. Merely help Naruto get away from him. If by some miracle Naruto manages to beat Gaara, then our orders are to capture him and await further orders. However, if it's the opposite, then we just grab Naruto and find somewhere safe, Tenten said as Neji and Sasuke led the way. Sakura questioned as Shikamaru considered that. You did hear what Kakashi said, right? He called that form Gaara took a tailed beast. What is a tailed beast? I'm not sure, I've never heard that before. But that toad said he had faced one 13 years ago. That was the same day the nine-tailed fox attacked the village, so maybe there's some connection to that, Shikamaru said with a scowl. Kiba questioned as Shikamaru pondered, but what does that have to do with Naruto and Gaara? He had some theories, but none of them could be verified unless he spoke with Naruto or a higher-ranking shinobi, and he reasoned that neither of them would be inclined to reveal the truth. It doesn't matter, right now we just need to get to Naruto and help him get away from Gaara, assuming he isn't dead. Neji, can you use your Byakugan to see ahead of us? Shikamaru asked with a nod. He shouted, Byakugan, and used his Dujutsu to advance. I see, yes, I see Naruto. I also see the sand ninja from the exam. They're ahead of us, but I don't think they've noticed us yet. He exclaimed, observing the conflict in front of him. How's he doing? Sasuke inquired, seeing the enlargement of Neji's eyes as Gaara's body went limp and red chakra filled his coils, transforming into Shukaku's face and growling at him. What the heck is that? Neji was astounded by what she saw. Kiba shook his head and said, hey, what's happening? They nodded, and Neji exclaimed, I don't know. It looks like something else is happening inside Gaara. And those sand ninjas are ahead of us, we need to speed up. Pakun then smelled the air. Their eyes grew wide as Pakun exclaimed, we've also got another problem, we've got enemy shinobi tailing us. Nodding, Kiba and Akamaru sniffed the air. Kiba replied, yeah, I smell it too, but I can't make out the exact number yet, as they sprinted through the forest. As Pakun sniffed the air, Sasuke inquired, how many? I smell 2 squads, consisting of 8, no, make that 9 enemy shinobi, they're coming after us, Pakun told them. Kiba growled angrily, shit, they must be trying to stop us. Or they're just hunting down any shinobi, regardless of rank. It doesn't mean anything to them, they want to wipe out the entire Leaf Village. Men, women and children, this is a war after all, Shikamaru said with his eyes widening. Tenten advised, then we should throw them off our trail, or set up an ambush. We know these woods like the back of our hand, we can take them by surprise, to Pakun's dismissal. That won't work, these enemy shinobi are subordinates of Orochimaru, who was once a former shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. Any secrets he knew he told his men, the geography of this land, key locations, he would have taught them how to read it, Pakun clarified. As they all exchanged glances, Shino remarked, so, the only option we have is for some of us to stay behind and delay the enemy, by acting as a decoy. Question is, who should we leave behind? Neji said, I will stay, I can hold them off for as long as I can, as they made their way between the trees. Shikamaru stopped and they all stopped as well. No, we need you to keep an eye out with your Byakugan. Kiba, Akamaru, and Pakun can sniff out the enemy, and Sasuke will need to help Naruto take down Gaara, Shikamaru said previously. Then Tenten moved to stand next to him. I'll stay behind, the shadow possession jutsu was made to hold off enemy forces after all, now get going, he remarked. She patted the scrolls she carried with her and Shikamaru nodded. Then I'll stay too, I don't have a lot of weapons with me. But the ones I do have might be useful to set up traps with if we can trick them, she said. He said, it's all we got, but it will be risky, before turning back to the group. Shikamaru said, go, we'll hold them off, and the team reluctantly nodded. Kiba yelled as he ran off, fine, just, damn it, don't die on us, either of you. Tenten, Neji uttered, turning to face his teammate. He gave a warning, be careful, and she nodded. He nodded and trailed behind them. I will now go help Naruto, she said. Then Shikamaru scratched the back of his head, sighing. He grumbled, man, this is not the life that I wanted, as Tenten rolled her eyes. He shrugged and she said, yeah well, it's the life we do have. Come on, we don't have long, any bright ideas? She grinned and produced one of her secret scrolls, a few, but you aren't going to like them, he remarked. He nodded, and she said, just tell me what to do, turning back to the group that was making their way to where Naruto was. Shikamaru begged, be careful guys, and Naruto. Don't get killed, you and I have a lot to talk about, just as he saw the clouds above grow darker, a portentous indication. In the interim Kankuro and Temari were moving quickly through the first, heading in the direction of Gaara. They were apprehensive to act since they could clearly recall the last occasion when Gaara lost control. They would always remember him as the terrifying creature he had become. They feared him because of this. I detest this entire invasion, Temari exclaimed as he leapt with her brother. While Kankuro remained silent, she questioned, why did father have to turn Gaara into a weapon? Why did he have to split our family? I mean, what's the point of it all? Kankuro questioned, I don't know. But what other choice do we have? Temari winced. However, a swarm of bugs blocked their path before they could proceed, causing them to stop. As they snapped back to see Neji, Shino, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kiba glaring at them, they heard, that's as far as you go. Shino commanded them, surrender, and we won't have to kill you, as his bugs encircled them. Oh no, they've caught up, roared Kankuro, taking his puppet off his back. Preparing for battle, he gave the command, Temari, I'll hold them off, you get to Gaara. Temari nodded and hurried to get away, pulling out her fan to blow some of the insects away. Kiba yelled, damn it, we've got to go after her, as he and the others attempted to pursue, but Kankuro's puppet stopped them. He yelled, you ain't getting near her, as Shino's eyes widened and a single blade missed Kiba. Sasuke and Neji glared at Shino, saying, be careful. His weapons have poison on them, one scratch could prove fatal. Neji nodded and Shino said, we can't waste any more time, two of us will have to keep him busy while the rest go after Naruto. I agree, Sasuke, Kiba, Neji, Sakura, go ahead. I will stay behind and keep him occupied. He and I still have a match to settle, Shino said, nodding as they made an effort to depart. Kankuro yelled, I said you're not going anywhere, and extended the limbs of his puppet in the direction of Sasuke and Neji. Kiba stood between Kankuro and the others and yelled, fang over fang. as he used his technique to deflect the arms without getting scratched by the poison. As Neji and Sasuke nodded and leapt away, Kiba exclaimed, "I'll stay with Shino. We stand a better chance together. Now go, we'll hold him off." As they fled, Kiba and Shino glared at the puppet user, and Kankuro cursed. "Well, this will be one heck of a fight, Shino?" Shino gave Kankuro some advice as he readied Karasu, his puppet, for battle. "Just be careful, and follow my lead," Shino advised. Tenten and Shikamaru. Meantime the tracks led further into the forest, and the Sound Ninja followed. As they followed the tracks, the Sound Ninja remarked, "These kids are amateurs. They think just because they live here they can outsmart us." The head Sound Ninja grinned as they came to a stop upon seeing a tripwire. He stopped and his men went stiff. "Nice try, kids, but we're not dumb enough to fall for a simple tripwire, ga." Shikamaru grinned and remarked, "You're right. You're not dumb enough to fall for a simple tripwire." Shikamaru grinned and grabbed the group with his shadow possession jutsu. "But then again, that wasn't the point, was it?" he asked. Shikamaru grinned as the Sound Ninja exclaimed, "Damn it. To think we got tricked by a kid." This was one of the jutsus Lord Orochimaru warned us about, the Nara clan's shadow binding jutsu. Shikamaru remarked, "You guys really shouldn't underestimate us," while tallying the figures. Glancing around, Shikamaru bet, "I only count 8, which means the 9th one is still in hiding. Tenten is still hiding, but I can't let her try to find him. I'll have to do it myself in the hopes that she can find him, as I'm almost out of weapons and chakra. We'll be outnumbered once the binding is released," he thought to himself, peering stealthily at the bushes behind him as Tenten nodded in concealment. As Shikamaru hurled the kunai and shuriken at the Sound Ninja, she prepared her weapon, deflecting them with the help of their unseen ally. There, Tenten saw the man being forced to dodge the kunai knife as she threw it at him. "Damn brat. You think that will?" he exclaimed, failing to notice the ninja wire behind him. As he fell from the trees, multiple kunai traps were set, impaling him in the back. As the man's corpse hit the ground, she exclaimed, "Got him." Shikamaru nodded. Even so, he was aware that the jutsu was about to end and that this victory was insufficient. He said to her, "Damn it, Tenten, you need to get out of here, now." She blinked, dumbfounded. She questioned, "Why? You have them captured. I can take some more out if..." Shikamaru shook his head in response. Tenten stared at the boy, then shook her head. "Yeah, but I'm nearly out of chakra and you don't have a lot of weapons left. And my jutsu is going to be released soon, and these guys know it. There are too many of them for both of us," he said to her. "It's impossible for me to forgive myself if I left now," she uttered, pulling out a sickle and chain from her stash of backup weapons. She added, "Besides, even if I manage to escape, there's no guarantee that I'll be able to get far. So if we go down together," to Shikamaru's sigh. He questioned, "Man, why do people have to be such a drag?" As the shadow jutsu released and the Sound Ninja grinned, getting ready to kill the two brats. The others barely had time to react before they were all chopped down faster than they could blink as Asuma Sarutobi stood in the middle of the ninja's pile. "Well now, any last words before we kill Ga?" The Sound Ninja never got to finish as his head was lopped off his body. "Whoa, that was really close. I'm glad I caught up with you," Asuma grinned, causing Tenten and Shikamaru to widen their eyes. "Asuma-sensei. However, why are you?" Shikamaru smiled and asked. "Yes, well, I followed you because I was a little concerned. Rest for a bit. This was the last of the pursuers, so don't worry." He told them, "You two did good," and Shikamaru fell to the ground, exhausted. Tenten approached the Jonin and said, "Fine by me. How about the others, though?" Asuma gestured toward Naruto, and she questioned. Kakashi, Kurenai, and Guy continued to tend to the rest. They took a moment to calm down, and Asuma turned to face the stadium. "And we sent others to back your friends up. Don't worry, I'm sure they'll be fine," he said to them. Old man, he thought to himself, his father on his mind. Kiba, Shino, and Kankuro in the interim as they faced off in the forest. Kiba, Akamaru, and Shino glared at Kankuro, who was moving his puppet fully out to shield himself from the two shinobi. Kankuro kept Karasu close to him and thought, "Damn, this will be a challenge. If it was one-on-one I could probably handle them, but two of them will be tough. Luckily the dog one is a bit of an idiot. He'll be the easier of the two to poison." "Alright, Shino. I hope you have a strategy because that damn poison prevents me from getting too close to my Gatsuga." Kiba snarled, glaring at their opponent with Shino. "He might have a long range, but I think he struggles in close quarters fighting. If not, he wouldn't have employed the puppet in the opening acts." We might be able to defeat him if we can get past his puppet. Kiba nodded, and Shino said, I'll use my bugs to distract him so you and Akamaru can take him down. He clapped his hands and yelled, Copy, beast human clone. As Akamaru was changed into a perfect replica of Kiba. Alright, let's get started. Shino sent out his bugs after Kankuro, who was forced to jump back from the swarm. Using Karasu to defend himself, Kiba yelled as he and Akamaru rushed forward, drawing kunai and throwing them at Kankuro, who used Karasu to block the kunai. Grab this. Happy Gatsuga. The puppet user cursed as he had to leap back from the attack, using Karasu's hidden launcher to fire 2 poison kunai from its mouth at Kiba and Akamaru, who had no choice but to dodge. Kiba shouted as he and Akamaru became swirling vortexes and flew straight towards Kankuro. Oh my god. That was almost there, Kiba said, as Kankuro drew Karasu nearer to him. Shino materialized behind him, prepared to trap him with his Kakaichu bugs. But before he could say anything more, a wall of bugs stopped him. Shino declared, It's over, to Kankuro's sly grin. Not quite, he remarked as Karasu's arm snapped open at the elbow, unleashing a projectile that exploded and enveloped the two in a billowing plume of purple smoke. **T. This is what the fuck is. It has a terrible smell. As he attempted to cover his mouth, Kiba yelled, and Akamaru mimicked him in human form. Kiba. This smoke, it's a poison smoke bomb. Get out. Kiba. Did you inhale the smoke? Shino yelled as Kankuro hid and the three jumped out of the smoke while it was covered in smoke. Kiba answered, a little queasy, cough. Yeah. I did. Damn it. Even just a little is enough. As Kiba and Akamaru began to pass out, he questioned. Please stay awake, Shino said, and then Karasu materialized behind them, yelling, watch out. As Karasu decapitated Shino, he yelled and shoved them aside. Hiroshi. Kiba yelled, but it turned out to be just an insect clone. From his hiding place, Kankuro swore, damn, an insect clone. Thinking, he shouldn't even be able to move with that poison in his system. He searched for the bug user. Damn it, one of the flaws of a puppet is that the puppet can't see the enemy unless I see them as well. This guy is more resilient than I thought, but the canine user is in no shape to move, so if I target him, he'll have no choice but to come out and save his friend, Kankuro thought as he pulled out Karasu's blade, ready to stab Kiba and Akamaru. Till he realized Karasu was motionless. As swarms of bugs started to crawl out of the puppet's joints, he realized, why isn't Karasu moving? Wait. Don't tell me. Meanwhile, Shino smirked beneath his collar while hanging off the side of the branch. It's pointless, your puppet is immobile. As the beetles started to move down the chakra threads, Shino remarked, I planted the beetles deep into the puppet's joints, keeping you from controlling it. As he cut the threads of his puppet, Kankuro realized, shit. The bugs are already following the chakra threads. Shit. That's right, the Abarame clan was known for their bugs' ability to eat chakra. If they follow my chakra threads back to me, they'll reveal my location. Shit. The bugs were flung off. He himself severed the threads. As Kiba tried to stand up and grunted, Shino realized. The puppet's head was suddenly ejected as it flew off the main body, and Kiba said, Shino, as he attempted to move but the poison had already penetrated every part of his body. Is that something he can still use? Kankuro grinned and Kiba yelled. There's enough poison on the tip to put you down once and for all. So long, rookies. Kankuro smirked as he commanded the head to Shino. Did you think that just because I cut my threads the battle was over? Instantly reattaching threads is simple for a first-rate puppet user like me. Karasu's mouth opened and a long spike coated in poison rocketed towards them. The head stopped an inch or two away from Shino's head only at the last moment. What? Kankuro shouted before noticing his chakra was rapidly fading. But how did? He became aware of the tiny insects on his hands as they dispersed throughout his body. Did I mention that I was able to put one of my insects on you back at the arena? That's how we previously managed to locate you. As Kankuro screamed and the bugs consumed him completely, causing him to lose his balance and fall off the tree, Shino informed him, the benefit is that I knew where you were from the start, so my insects can devour your chakra. Damn, the poison. C can't stay awake, Shino sadly moaned as he fell to the ground beside the puppet, and Kankuro, too, was immobile, unable to carry on with the battle. I suppose it's up to you, Naruto, Shino thought to himself as he collapsed. In the interim, Naruto and Gaara, now that he was free and in control of Gaara's body, Shukaku cried out in delight. Ha ha ha. At last. Following a long period of time. I'm at last free. Hooray. While Naruto gazed at the tailed beast, Shukaku bellowed. It's the Shukaku, right? Its mannerisms surprised Naruto a little, so he inquired, not exactly what I expected. He spoke while Gamabunta scowled. Believe not that Shukaku has changed. He is still a dangerous creature. Since the one-tailed beast is still sufficiently strong, we must reverse the jutsu and return his consciousness to the seal. Naruto nodded as Gamabunta spoke. Exactly. Shukaku turned to face him and grinned as he spoke. After being cooped up inside for years, I can now do anything I want, and I'm going to kill you as my first action. Shukaku hit his stomach and took in a huge breath. Wind style. Air bullet. Gamabunta was forced to leap aside as Shukaku unleashed a fierce gust of wind. Gosh, that was very near. **T. Watch out, Gamabunta. Gamabunta's eyes widened as Shukaku took in another breath of air and fired another air bullet. Naruto yelled. Water style. Lightning bolt. The moment Temari, Neji, Sakura, Sasuke, and Pakun approached the battle, Gamabunta countered as he shot a huge ball of water out of his mouth, colliding with the air bullet and soaking the air in rain. How inconceivable! From where did this storm originate? Sakura exclaimed as they hid. This storm is not a natural one. This is from the battle between the tailed beast and the toad boss. As Sasuke peered up at the mini-storm, Pakun spoke. Naruto, what kind of battle is this, for heaven's sake? Temari looked up in shock as he asked. And how on earth is he still alive? This is inconceivable. Gamabunta landed, then jumped again as Shukaku fired 3 air bullets, only to be countered by Gamabunta's 2 water bullets. However, the third one broke through and slammed into Gamabunta. Temari questioned as she watched the boy continue to fight. You got it, punk! Shukaku shouted as Gamabunta crashed into the earth. However, he wasn't as hurt as Shukaku wanted. Damn, I believe that to be sufficient. Gamabunta, how are you doing? The toad boss nodded and Naruto questioned. It had an insane amount of chakra, but I'm okay. I doubt I could handle too many of those. With a growl of frustration from Shukaku, Gamabunta spoke. You managed that. Alright, I'll use a Biju bomb the next time. Try to make it through that. Shukaku yelled, and Naruto furrowed his brow. A Biju bomb? What the heck is that? As Gamabunta swore, Naruto yelled. Not good at all. It's an attack made up of absurdly high densities of chakra. One blast has the power to level a mountain, and only tailed beasts can use them. Before he uses one, we need to stop him. Water bullet is the style of water. Gamabunta yelled as Shukaku was struck by the water bullets, disrupting his focus. **T. You people will bear the consequences of that. Gamabunta countered with his own water bullets while Shukaku yelled as he fired multiple air bullets. After that, we had to rouse Gaara. Bring me in close. It wasn't until Gamabunta moved slightly out of the way and dodged another water bullet that Naruto yelled at him. Gamabunta then attempted to grab onto Shukaku, but he was unable to do so because toads lack claws and fangs. Oh my god. I'm unable to hold him, brat. In order to change into something with claws or fangs, we must use a combined transformation jutsu. Naruto nodded as Gamabunta spoke. That sounds good. I'll lend you my chakra and you do the hand signs, but I'm not very good at transformation. Gamabunta uttered those words as Naruto slapped the toad. What? Why don't you just tell me at the last minute? As Shukaku roared and started to channel chakra for a tailed beast bomb, Naruto yelled. Brat, hurry up. Time is not on our side. As Gamabunta lunged towards the Ichibi, he yelled. All right. Fangs and claws. Fangs and claws. Fangs and claws. Trying to visualize something with those features, Naruto just kept running out of ideas. Then, at the last possible moment, an image flashed into his head and he remembered something. The representation of a fox. Jutsu for transformation. When Neji, Paku, and Sasuke arrived and saw something crazy. The image of the creature that had almost destroyed Konoha 13 years ago. Naruto yelled as Gamabunta and himself were enveloped in smoke. The fox with 9 tails. What the devil? Temari yelled, as Gamabunta lunged at the startled Shukaku, who was momentarily stunned to see the image of his brother. Lunging at him, Sasuke, Sakura, and Neji looked up in equal shock at the 9-tailed fox. Kakarama. Shukaku yelled before Gamabunta grabbed hold of Shukaku and bit in with his new claws and fangs. Fuck! I was duped by you. Shukaku cried out as Gamabunta got serious. Alright, brat. As the transformation vanished, Gamabunta yelled, and Naruto leapt out of the smoke, body soaring in the air, the suppression seal still on his fist, and yelled, "Awaken up immediately!" Shukaku cursed as he screamed and slammed his fist into Gaara's face, awakening her with enough force to leave the paper suppression seal stuck to her face. Nah. Not at all. Oh no. I had just left. This is absolutely ridiculous. Gaara glared up at Naruto, who skeeted back and glared back at him, as Shukaku screamed as he was pulled back into the seal. As the One-Tail's chakra was suppressed by the suppression seal, he cried out in fear, What is this? I can't feel Shukaku's chakra." Feeling weaker, he asked, "This guy. He interfered with my jutsu. It's amazing that someone could even stop Gaara's jutsu," he said. "He managed to get the seal on at last. Oh no, the jutsu has been undone." Gamabunta shouted as Gaara moved the sand body and pushed against Gamabunta. "Damn. He's fighting back even with that seal." While Gaara glared at Naruto, he yelled, "Oh no, it was insufficient. I had to defeat him," Naruto shouted as he rushed towards him. Only his foot was caught in the sand. "Shit." Just as the sand began to suddenly swarm around him, Naruto spoke. "Perish. Uzumaki. Sand coffin," Gaara yelled, but Gamabunta's tongue, which was wrapped around Naruto, stopped the sand from crushing him. "Phew, that one was really close." Gamabunta uttered those words while keeping Naruto safe and restraining Gaara's sand creation. "Many thanks, boss," Naruto said before he noticed the sand crawling up his legs. "Shit. It will arrive eventually. And my chakra is empty." Shukaku's form was pushed further by Gaara, forcing Gamabunta to retract his tongue as Naruto yelled as he struggled against the sand. "Uzumaki." Glaring down at Naruto, Gaara yelled, "I will kill you and prove my existence. I am not going to vanish. I'm not going to die for someone like you." While Naruto scowled and persisted in his battle with the sand, he yelled, "Whoa, oh no. How should I proceed? How'd I?" Naruto lost his resolve as he realized, this is a terrible moment to do this, but I have no other choice. With his hands clenched and his eyes shut, Naruto uttered those words. There was silence, so Naruto yelled to the fox inside, "Hey, Nine Tails, wake up. I need your chakra. Please. Just a little bit is all I need, now." Temari, Sasuke, and Neji stared up in shock as they saw red energy swirling at the top of Shukaku's head, until a small flicker of red chakra began to emerge within Naruto's core, then quickly spread itself out before exploding off Naruto's body like an orange flame. What the heck is that?" Sakura inquired, seeing the red energy from Gaara resonating inside Naruto in the shape of a fox's head and causing Neji's Byakugan eyes to widen. This chakra. How long did he have that kind of power?" Neji exclaimed, and Sasuke scowled as he pondered where Naruto obtained such power. Gaara's eyes widened as the chakra appeared to swirl around him like 9 tails of energy. "How much stronger have you become, Naruto?" he asked, giving his teammate a scowl. Who the devil is this guy?" As Temari observed the red chakra encircling Naruto, she uttered these words. What's going on here?" Looking up with a guy as the 9 tails chakra flowed through and all around him, looking at his hand as he felt the power course through him. Naruto's headband was blown off and his hoodie was almost completely ripped open, save for the area held down by the Uzumaki clan chestplate. Gaara asked incredulous. Marveling at the power he felt, he wondered, so this is the 9 tails power? All right, Gaara. We are now done with this. Shouting, Naruto suddenly leapt forward at breakneck speeds, shattered the sand bindings, materialized before Gaara, and he retracted his fist. Enough already. You idiot. With barely enough time for Gaara to intervene, Naruto yelled as his fist struck his face, causing him to lose focus and the sand structure to start to disintegrate. As the construction came to a halt and the sand started to crumble, Gamabunta grinned and said, "Hey, finally over. I think I'll head back to Myoboku. I'm tired," he said. The kid will be fine on his own, and then vanished in a cloud of smoke. No way. He defeated Gaara. As Temari saw her brother vanquished by Naruto, she exclaimed in shock. Have you seen Naruto, Neji? As Neji nodded with his Byakugan, Sakura inquired. I noticed that he's falling. He yelled as Naruto and Gaara descended from the sky, almost completely depleted of their chakra and weakened to the point of no return. Landing on the treetops, Naruto knew he was running out of time, and he glared at Gaara. Hey, how are you? He asked, glancing across the trees to Gaara. I'm pretty much out of chakra, and I get the feeling. As Gaara began to breathe heavily, he spoke, "So let's end this. Here and now." With one punch? After giving him a glare and nodding, he asked. Gamabunta's enormous sword reflected their likenesses as they recognized themselves in each other. The two Jinchuriki were hated for their very existence and feared by everyone around them due to their monstrous creatures and terrible power. However, while one pursued his own goals, the other pursued the goals of others, realizing that their paths had long since parted. It was now time to determine who was correct. When they finally collided in a violent punch, Naruto's arm struck Gaara square in the cheek, sending them both sprawling painfully to the ground as they were nearly out of breath. Gaara and Naruto had leapt at each other as they had reared back their fists. Their eyes locked onto each other as they came sailing at each other. **T. They collapsed. As Temari snapped out of her daze and ran after her brother, Neji yelled. "No, we need to stop her right away." Sasuke stared at Sakura for a moment before nodding and trailing behind her. Gaara lay on the ground, his body aching, his kara sealed tight as the suppression seal prevented the One-Tail's chakra from seeping out of his face. He had never felt this kind of pain or sense of defeat in his life. How did I do that? How did I come to lose?" He looked up at the sky and asked, I fought for my existence. How was it that I lost?" His eyes widened as Naruto slowly and painfully crawled towards Gaara, still moving straight towards him despite the fall, the exhaustion from the chakra, and the hour of battle he had endured. He asked, slowly looking over, expecting to see the boy just as tired and broken as him. And he was afraid of it. "No. Remain back. Avoid me." As Naruto kept crawling forward with his chin, Gaara yelled, "Stay away from me. I wish not to pass away." His childhood flashed before his eyes, recalling the hatred and contempt everyone had for him, and he imagined Gaara going through the same thing. He yelled as Naruto only went on. "It aches, doesn't it?" With Gaara staring at him, he questioned, "That pain of being alone. It's unbearable, isn't it? I know what it's like. When everyone hates you for something you had no choice in. I'm like you and you're like me. We both have monsters sealed inside us by our fathers, and if I'm honest, I completely understand. I hated them as well, for putting me through this life of hatred and loneliness," Naruto remarked, causing Gaara's eyes to widen instead of displaying anger. "But there is a difference between us. Your father wanted a weapon. My father, who has never even met me, loved me and trusted me to hold back a dangerous monster. Now that I've met important people, they mean the world to me, and I will not allow you to harm them, even if I have to personally murder you," he exclaimed as Gaara merely fixed her gaze on him. "However, why do you fight for other people? Why do you not stand up for yourself?" As Naruto considered those who were close to him, he posed the question. Along with Ichiraku Ramen's owners, Iruka, the third Hokage, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, Pervy Sage, and Hinata, he was recently encouraged to smile by his parents. "The reason they are important to me and the reason I will defend them with my life is because they kept me from being alone and accepted me for who I am, not what other people think of me." He glared at Gaara, his pupils narrowing like slits as a small amount of the Nine-Tails chakra seeped into him. Gaara stared at the boy for a moment before recalling the words from his uncle and looking up at the sky. Gaara, an affectionate heart that gives all of itself for those they cherish and watches over them, possess something amazing, that is. Gaara sighed and concluded, "Love. I see. So that's why you're so strong." As Naruto gazed at his fellow Jinchuriki, Gaara uttered these words. Naruto. Abruptly, he heard the arrival of Sasuke, Sakura, and Neji. Temari also showed up, protecting Gaara by standing in front of him, while Sakura ran over to examine Naruto's wounds. "Neji, Sasuke, and Sakura-chan. Why are you in this place?" As Sakura took some medical tape out of her pouch, Naruto inquired. "We were sent to assist you by Kakashi-sensei. Are you okay?" Sakura inquired as Naruto nodded in pain while she bandaged any bleeding areas. He laughed, "I'll tell you when I see the X-rays," as Sakura let out a sigh. "Naruto, I promise you look different, but your recklessness hasn't changed at all." Smirking, Naruto said as she did. Naruto turned to face Sasuke and said, "Sasuke, don't. It's over. He's beaten. He won't cause any more trouble." Sasuke shook his head. "Yeah. Can't deny that," he said, glaring at Gaara and Temari as she unfurled her fan. "Kakashi gave us instructions to leave as soon as possible if you were beaten. However, since you defeated Gaara, we must apprehend him," Sasuke remarked, with Neji standing next to him. Neji remarked, He's right, Naruto, he has to be taken in, just as Kankuro landed next to Temari and prepared to launch an attack on them. You're not going to go near him at all. Even though he was injured and had low chakra, he said, I'm ready to bring out Karasu. Oh no, he must have managed to get past Kiba and Shino. As Sasuke prepared to use the Chidori and had his Sharingan activated, Neji uttered those words and slid back into a defensive stance. Kankuro. Gaara uttered as Kankuro turned to face him. It's over. There's no need to fight. Temari and Kankuro gaped at their brother. Temari stood between the Leaf Genin and her brothers, and Kankuro thought to himself, what the heck, I've never seen Gaara like this before. What the heck happened here? Look, it's clear Gaara can't fight anymore, nor does he want to. We failed. Besides, in all our conditions, it would be useless to fight, she said while glaring at Sasuke. While his Sharingan blazed, Sasuke remarked, but I can still fight. As Sasuke turned to face Neji, no, she's right. Even though you can fight, it would be foolish to fight them given Naruto's current state and Sakura's lack of combat experience. To be honest, I haven't fully recovered either. Neji counseled as Sasuke glanced at the wounded Naruto and the beseeching expression in Sakura's eyes as he gave in. It's best we just retreat and get Naruto somewhere safe. Sometimes the best thing to know is when a fight is over. As his Sharingan deactivated, Sasuke said, fine. Leave, but don't make us regret it. They nodded, and Kankuro assisted Gaara in standing up, while Sakura and Neji assisted Naruto. Uzumaki. Naruto. He uttered as Naruto turned to face him. Thank you. He continued, and Naruto merely stared before beaming. As Temari and Kankuro exchanged a bewildered look and leapt away, he said, hey, no problem. As they leapt away, Gaara thought about the strange boy and the possibility of being like him. To have those who love and cherish you. He wasn't sure if it was possible, but he knew where to start by looking to his side. They turned to face him and he said, Kankuro. Temari. I'm sorry. For everything. They blinked in shock. Stop worrying about it. Temari looked back as she seemed to almost smile, and Kankuro said, not sure how he felt, but not hateful, just caught off guard. Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki, she thought to herself as they sped off. The two Jinchuriki's battle had ended, but an old monkey still had a few tricks up his sleeve, and it had also brought light to one's darkness and formed a friendship that would last a lifetime. Two adversaries faced each other atop the main watchtower. A wise mentor and his once brilliant student, a former master and his fallen apprentice, a surrogate father and his wayward son. The tiles beneath their feet started to crack, and Orochimaru and Sarutobi's glares were nearly unbearable as their combined chakra and killing intent nearly broke through. One of the Anbu guards said, such chakra, feeling the pressure from the two. This is our Hokage's and his former student's power, indeed, Zo remarked, squinting beneath his mask. As the Naruto clone arrived on the roof and he stared at the man, he gave the order, be ready if the barrier comes down. We might not be able to assist the Hokage. Even he felt the power radiating off the Hokage, so he whispered, old man. So this is the power of a Hokage? Orochimaru and Sarutobi charged at each other, and as he extended a snake with his tongue, it bit Sarutobi in the neck. When it turned into a mound of mud, Orochimaru grinned and remembered his snake. Sarutobi waved his hands while yelling. As the roof beneath Orochimaru's feet turned to mud and he was swept down the side, he exclaimed, Earth style. Mudslide. He yelled, Earth style. Earth Dragon Bomb. And conjured up a dragon's head made of earth that dove at him with bullets made of mud, but he wasn't done yet because he continued to make hand gestures and shout. Fire style. Fire Dragon Bomb. He exclaimed as he set the mud balls ablaze, causing Orochimaru to scream in agony. The Anbu member nodded and exclaimed, amazing. He combined earth and fire style, Zo agreed. The Naruto clone gazed in wonder as Zo said, he was once called the professor and the god of shinobi for a reason. The clone remarked, whoa, the old man is wicked strong, as Sarutobi gave him a fierce look. When the fire and mud subsided and Orochimaru emerged from the rooftop unscathed, he yelled, stop the stupid act. Sarutobi scowled as Orochimaru jeered, very good, but did you seriously think that level of jutsu would work on me? I'm insulted, sensei. He apologized to his former student, saying, I'll make sure to hurt you next time. The two then hurried ahead. After hurling a single shuriken, Sarutobi swiftly and blindingly passes through hand signs. Ninja art. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. He exclaimed, causing the shuriken to multiply, while Orochimaru grinned and made hand signals as well. Orochimaru slapped his hands together in a kind of prayer as two large wooden coffins emerged from the ground and yelled, "Summoning Jutsu! Impure World Reincarnation!" He exclaimed, 1, 2, as the coffins stopped the shurikens. 3, Sarutobi uttered a curse as a third coffin rose to his feet. "I need to prevent him from calling up the third coffin using those coffins," as he made an effort to stop the coffin from rising, Sarutobi said. However, the coffin came to a stop as it was dragged back into the ground. "It seems that the third was not as good as I had thought." As the coffin lids opened, Orochimaru thought with a dark glee, "Maybe the jutsu is still imperfect. Or, there is something else denying me access to the fourth Hokage's soul. Oh well, these two will be enough." When the two bodies came out of the coffins, Sarutobi scowled. One was a man with brown eyes and long black hair who was dressed in vintage red shinobi armor. The other, however, had spiky white hair, red markings on his face, and a blue variation with a white fur collar. But they had black sclera eyes and body cracks running through them both. It can't be," exclaimed Zo, staring at the two. With a scowl, Sarutobi's subordinate questioned, "Who are they, Captain?" "Orochimaru, how dare you defile the dead for your gain? To bring them back from the dead, you are truly vile, though I must say, it's been a long time. I never thought I would see you two again, my old masters, Lord Shodem and Lord Nidame," Sarutobi said as the two men surveyed the area. Zo nodded and Naruto and the subordinate exclaimed, "What? Yes, who you see before you are the Lord's first and second Hokage, Hashirama Senju and Tobirama Senju, the founders of our village. This is not good. Lord Hashirama was once considered the first god of shinobi, before Lord Third and the strongest ninja of his age, even battling Madara Uchiha in the past. While Lord Second, Tobirama, was the man who instituted many of our village's practices and created many of the jutsu we use today," Zo said as Tobirama surveyed the area. "Saru, is that you? You seem older," Tobirama said, surveying his surroundings. "It appears that quite some time has elapsed. If we find ourselves here now." He squinted at the man standing behind them. As Hashirama sighed, he cursed, "Ah. I see. The reincarnation jutsu. He's used my forbidden jutsu." Tobirama turned and gave him a stern look. "I told you not to create that jutsu, brother. I told you it would come back to bite you in the butt, but no, you didn't listen to me," shrugged Hashirama. Tobirama yelled, "Shut up, elder brother. This is not the time for your nonsense," as Hashirama winced and hung his head, a pall over him. "It's the first Hokage?" the subordinate questioned, feeling a little let down by his attitude. "In any case," Tobirama remarked, turning to face Orochimaru. Tobirama remarked, "This youngster knows what he's doing. He hasn't brought us back to full strength, otherwise, we could simply overpower his control," looking at Sanin, the former snake. "Of course, I am no fool, Lord Tobirama. I'm well aware of the capabilities of the first and second Hokage, and thus have limited your powers. You were reckless when creating such a powerful jutsu. If someone like myself has gotten his hands on it," Orochimaru laughed as Tobirama glared. "And now that power will help me destroy the village you two created." Tobirama glared and turned to face Sarutobi. "If I get the chance to break your control, I will teach you some respect, youngster," Hashirama said. "Saru," Hashirama remarked, glancing at his former pupil. As Sarutobi nodded, Hashirama commanded, "It looks like we have no choice but to fight you. Do not hold back. Because in our current state, we will not." He did, however, cast a quick glance in the direction of the barrier when he noticed the young Naruto Uzumaki staring at him. "Brother?" Tobirama inquired, tracing his trajectory. Naruto was staring at Sarutobi and Orochimaru when he asked, "What is it? Do you know that child?" Sarutobi said, "Naruto. No, a shadow clone," while Zo and his Anbu were observing him. Before Zo intervened, a subordinate exclaimed, "Genin, what are you doing here? Get back and find cover." As Hashirama and Naruto exchanged blank looks, Zo remarked, "It's okay, that's the same boy who went off to face the One-Tails. This one is more than likely a shadow clone. Besides, it's not like he can do much but watch like us." They were drawn to each other for reasons they couldn't quite put their finger on. Something that was beyond their comprehension, but it felt known. "It's nothing," Orochimaru smirked as Hashirama spoke. Orochimaru remarked, "Well, now that that's taken care of," as he drew two kunai and placed them inside the cage's heads. He said, "Let's get this show on the road," as their appearance grew more animated and their bodies started to steam. "They appear more like themselves than when I last saw them," Orochimaru grinned and Sarutobi said. Sarutobi scowled as Orochimaru snickered. Of course, sensei. I wanted this to be a proper reunion between master and apprentice. It will make it much more exciting when you were cut down by your former mentors. The battle commenced with Sarutobi shouting, I won't let you defile their memory, Orochimaru. As he charged at the two, Sarutobi made a flurry of hand gestures before charging at the three. Fire style. Fire Dragon Flame Bomb, he exclaimed, sending a tremendous jet of flame hurtling in the direction of the three, the heat nearly unbearable. However, the second Hokage made hand signals that flashed. Water style. Water Wall. Tobirama spewed forth a great deal of water, closing the gap between them and the flames. Before the second Hokage continued to flash more hand signs, Zo remarked, to cast such a water-style jutsu with little access to water, I can see why he was the second Hokage. Particles of water started to move in the direction of the second Hokage. Before using a jutsu that Naruto was familiar with, Tobirama yelled, Water style. Water shockwave, as a massive wave of water rushed towards the elderly Hokage. He yelled, Earth style. Mud wall. But instead of taking earth from the ground, he spit mud out of his mouth, forming a sizable wall that protected the Hokage. The wall formed an almost rocky shoreline and prevented the water from carrying him away. When the first Hokage started to charge toward Sarutobi, he leapt to the top of his wall. Sarutobi used fireball jutsus in an attempt to stop him, but Hashirama just reflected them. The two practiced taijutsu for a short while, but the old Hokage was kicked in the face and could not match the resurrected Hashirama. The Naruto clone exclaimed, Old man! Just before Sarutobi was dragged under the water. However, in the same instant, he was able to flee, but not before dodging bullets of pressurized water that were piercing his wall of earth and landing on the roof. When he finally caught his breath, the water moved back. Sarutobi managed to exhale, to face you two again. As quite a challenge, just as he saw a tiny plant start to grow beneath the tiles. Sarutobi watched more roots and trees start to grow and exclaimed, Crap, this is not good. Naruto said, Hey, what the heck is going on, as Zo squinted. This is it, he uttered as more tree roots proliferated and dispersed throughout the roof. Biting his thumb and making his way through hand signals, Sarutobi uttered curses, the secret ninja art that only the first could do, damn it. As massive roots and trees quickly spread out and formed a small forest inside the barrier, Hashirama exclaimed, Wood style. Deep forest emergence. The vines and roots swiftly wrapped around the third, holding him in place. Whoa, so that's the wood style of the first Hokage Pervy Sage was talking about? The Naruto clone exclaimed, recalling Jiraiya's explanation of the elements and sub-elements. Because only the first Hokage was ever able to use wood style, wood is especially uncommon. Sarutobi had just enough strength to reach out and lay his hand on the root, even though the roots were essentially trapping him. A puff of smoke billowed before a large monkey with long, spiky white hair, sideburns, and a tail. The monkey was wearing a black suit with mesh armor underneath, a sleeveless kimono shirt with white fur trimmings and tiger-striped markings that was secured with a red sash. The monkey called out, summoning jutsu. Monkey King Enma. Orochimaru gave the well-known scene in front of him a glare. Orochimaru remarked, something pesky just arrived, figures you'd bring him here for this, as Enma gave the former snake Sannin a glare and peered down. Enma glared and said, Orochimaru. So, it's finally come to this, before turning to face Sarutobi. At his summons, Sarutobi sighed. Hiruzen, you were a fool. You should have killed him when you had the chance, and now you're paying for it, Enma lectured. Sarutobi said, well, that'll change now. I'm going to fix the mistake I made years ago, to Enma's dismissal. As Sarutobi fought against his restraints, Enma remarked, I won't be surprised if he kills you today. It's a little too late for that. You're old and past your prime. Enma nodded and Orochimaru swore, but he insisted, Enma, transform. The undead Hokage charged at the monkey, yelling, stop him, Enma, not to be outdone, slammed his fist into the second Hokage's head, sending him to the ground, and ducked under the first Hokage, sending him away. Enma jumped back and struck a pose, saying, lucky these things aren't at their full strength, otherwise this fight would be more challenging. Transform, he exclaimed, turning into a long, black pole with a gold tint at both ends. The pole then whirled around and shattered the roots surrounding Sarutobi. With the staff in his hands, Sarutobi exclaimed, thanks, Enma. The Anu and the Naruto clone, meanwhile, looked on helplessly. The clone turned to the Anbu and yelled, damn it, I can't just sit by and do nothing, we've got to help him. The Anbu subordinate said, "We can't, so long as that barrier is up, we can't get inside to assist the Hokage," as Naruto surveyed his surroundings. He shook his head and said, "Well, what about going under? Can that work?" Zou shook his head. "No, this barrier jutsu creates a full three-dimensional prison around a certain area. Even if we could get under, we'd only hit the bottom of the barrier and burn up like our fellow squad members. It's impossible to get in or out unless we take out the casters," Zou said as he pointed out the 4 sound ninjas that were positioned. Naruto cursed, straining to come up with something. Even though the old man made a mistake by keeping his parents' identity from him, he still treated him like a grandfather and didn't want to see him go. Not to a horde of zombies and some weird snake guy. Looking around the barrier, Naruto cursed, "Damn it, there has to be something." Before an idea struck him, he glanced at the barrier, then down to the edge of the roof and peered underneath, only to discover that there was no barrier beneath and that the barrier's floor only extended as far as the cage's box ceiling. At that moment, he got an idea and hurriedly returned to the Anbu. He turned to face Zou and the others, saying, "Hey, this might seem like a dumb question, but this thing won't float, will it?" "What?" Zou questioned, a little surprised and confused by the genin's inquiry. "This barrier, I mean it's not going to float in midair, is it, right? I mean those sound guys are standing on the roof itself, not the barrier. So they're standing on the existing rooftops. It hasn't cut the roof in half, otherwise, this roof would have just fallen by now. So, this might seem insane, but what if we collapse the building? Would the barrier float, or would it destabilize the jutsu?" he asked while contemplating this for a moment. Looking between the Naruto clone and the barrier, Zou exclaimed, "Captain, you can't seriously be thinking of using an idea from a genin, least of all from him." The Anbu member was right. When the subordinate closed his mouth, Zou asked, "Do you have any better options? It's a long shot, but anything is better than nothing. We'll need explosive tags, and move Rado out of the way," Zou said while the clone nodded. The clone said, "I have a few, but it might not be enough," and Zou gave a nod. They nodded, and Zou said, "That's okay, we just need to put them on strategic points that we can use to weaken the building." Then he gestured to the watchtower's 4 sections. There, and there, that should be enough to weaken the tower. But against the reincarnated cage, and Orochimaru it won't be enough. If only Jiraiya-sama was here, Zou said while the clone was blinking. "Wait, I can send a clone to go find Pervy Sage, I'll tell him we've got a plan to bring the barrier down and get him to come quickly," the clone suggested while Zou nodded. The clone looked uncertain, so Zou said, "Can you find him in time? We are in the middle of a war after all?" The clone said, "I don't know, but I'll try. I can't make any promises. I also need to be real careful, one stray hit and I'm out," to the captain in agreement. "Uzumaki, you've given us a chance to save the Hokage. Do your best, and now go." Zou gave the order, and the clone nodded before making one final clone and running off. He yelled, "All right guys, let's get to work," as the Anbu and the Naruto clone raced off in separate directions. Orochimaru grinned and said, "Well, things are getting more interesting now." A katana then materialized from a snake that was concealed inside his body. "That sword," Sarutobi remarked, observing Orochimaru grasp a long sword with a Japanese design in his hands. "I see, so that's the blade of Kusanagi, a dangerous weapon. Even my body will feel sore from that blade," Enma said, grabbing a slimmed-down version of his staff and lunging toward his former student. As the pole shot towards Orochimaru, who easily avoided it, he extended Enma. Swiftly exchanging blows, the two dodged their weapons. Even Enma's staff form was heavier than before, indicating that Sarutobi was not at his peak anymore. Sarutobi extended the pole, but Orochimaru blocked it with his blade. Then, after successfully kicking Sarutobi to the ground, the two resurrected Hokage make an appearance. Orochimaru gazed at his fallen master with a sly smile. With a grunt, Sarutobi responded, "Rushing at me like that, without even a shadow clone by your side, that's mighty reckless of you, sensei," Orochimaru teased. The truth was that he couldn't, not that he didn't try. Chakra is distributed equally among the number of clones the user creates by the shadow clone. Furthermore, Sarutobi's chakra levels had dropped from when he was at his peak. He had no intention of wasting his chakra on 2 reincarnated cages in particular. Orochimaru picked him up by the scruff of his armor and said, "You were once called the Professor, for being a master of nearly every jutsu in the Hidden Leaf. But now look at you. You ought to have retired long ago, sensei. You're just a pitiful old man who can't do anything," Orochimaru remarked as Sarutobi raised his gaze to his fallen student. His mind raced with memories of happier times, and he regretted a lot of things in his life, but nothing more than not intervening to keep his student from going into darkness. Perhaps, he uttered before grabbing hold of his arms and kicking his legs, surprising the snake Sanin. Just as Enma extended his arm from the staff and grabbed Orochimaru by the neck, he yelled, "But I've still got some fight left in me," and kicked him in the face. Enma slammed his neck, screaming, "I'm going to snap your neck, you filthy snake." But it was a mud substitute. With a sly smile, Orochimaru appeared from the roof. The man yelled, "Nice try, old man, but that won't work on me," just before taking another kick to the face and falling away. He then set off the 2 explosive tags on the cages, which exploded and caused the 2 cages to lose an arm and a leg. As the cages' bodies started to mend themselves, Orochimaru made fun of them, saying, "I see. During the fight you managed to tag them with explosives, clever sensei, but ultimately useless." "That's correct, I suppose." He glared at Orochimaru and continued, "Those bodies will keep regenerating as long as the Edo Tensei is active. I need to deal with their souls that are bound to this earth." However, if he simply cancels the jutsu and returns them later, or if one of his subordinates also knows the Edo Tensei, wait. That third coffin, a regular sealing jutsu, will not be effective. Without a doubt, Minato was in the third one if the first 2 held the first and second Hokage. I attempted to stop the jutsu, but it wasn't me that sent it back. Maybe it was because Minato's soul is now inside the Shinigami's stomach. If that's the case, then I have no choice but to seal the first and second Hokage with the same jutsu that Minato used a long time ago to keep them out of his reach. Sarutobi nodded. "I just hope the countermeasure the Uzumaki sealing scroll gives me works. Then I have no choice but to use the dead demon-consuming seal and seal their souls away where no one can get their hands on them." Sarutobi bet as he readied the jutsu, "But even if the countermeasure works, my soul will still be bound for the Shinigami's stomach, to be separated from the Pure Lands forever and fight for eternity in its stomach. But at least this way, my soul can never be used against the Hidden Leaf Village." Orochimaru laughed and went to get his sword, saying, "I must say, Sarutobi-sensei, you're running out of breath a lot. You have gotten old. I can't recall the last time you had such a pained look on your face." Sarutobi shot back, "And what about that do you find funny?" Orochimaru laughed. Orochimaru said, reaching for his face and removing the skin, "It's just funny, that you who were once hailed as the second god of shinobi, one of the strongest kage in history. But I guess not even the god of shinobi cannot defeat old age." Sarutobi's eyes widened as he saw a young-looking woman with his snake-like eyes and the pale skin of Orochimaru in place of his former protege. The woman merely smirked when Sarutobi said, Who the heck are you?" With a smirk, the young woman's voice asked, "Is it really that surprising?" "Orochimaru, it's me," she said, causing Sarutobi's eyes to widen. "Oh my god, you finished that forbidden jutsu," Sarutobi yelled at the Orochimaru, who was laughing in his face. In the interim, the village walls the Leaf Ninja hurled explosive tags at the snakes, but the effects were ineffective against the giant snake summons, which still caused chaos throughout the village. The ninja barely made it out of the way as the snake hissed and tore apart the building they were on before turning to face them. One of the shinobi exclaimed, "Damn, there's too many of them. We can't handle this on our own," because he felt that their chances of defeating the summons were slim. Among the most potent summonses in the Leaf Village was the snake summons. Furthermore, none of them was capable of defeating them. Ibiki yelled, "We have to hold the line. We won't let the Leaf Village fall," as he and the other men nodded and got ready to battle. They heard, summoning jutsu, as a massive toad, carrying 2 katanas, landed atop the snake. The toad's weight instantly kills it, saying, "Bring down the house." Ibiki's eyes widened in shock as he looked up. He exclaimed, It can't be," as he noticed Jiraiya perched on the toad's back. As Ibiki recognized him, he said, "Long time no see, Ibiki. Looks like you all have your hands full with this lot. Was your body the only thing that grew?" He exclaimed, "Jiraiya-sama," as the others gasped. His companion questioned, "Jiraiya? You mean one of the 3 legendary Sannin?" as Jiraiya grinned and performed a kabuki dance. He smirked and assumed the posture of a kabuki dancer. "That's right, open your eyes wide. For it is I, one of the legendary Sannin and the Toad Sage of Mount Myoboku. I am the one, the only, Master Jiraiya," he exclaimed. The road's glare frozen the snakes, and they retreated. He exclaimed, "Huh? You snakes are scared of one toad's glare. Slither back to your holes," before his face darkened. So, you started Orochimaru at last? I was hoping this wouldn't happen, Jiraiya thought somberly as Ibiki touched down beside him. With a gesture toward the arena, he questioned the scarred shinobi, "Where is the Sandaime?" "He's at the exam arena. Reports indicate that he's engaged in a fight with Orochimaru and the reincarnated forms of the first and second Hokage. A barrier was also erected at the top of the main watchtower, and we couldn't get through. We've also got reports Naruto Uzumaki is currently fighting against Gaara, who's taken on a tailed beast form. But it seems he has managed to draw him away from the village," Ibiki said as Jiraiya nodded. "I see, there's not much we can do, but protect the village. Let's deal with the snakes, you and your men continue fighting the sand and sound," he said while Ibiki nodded. He said, "Understood," as Jiraiya turned to face the arena and made out the purple barrier. He was thinking, "Old man, don't die on us," when he saw someone running toward him. "Is that right? Wait." As the Naruto clone touched the toad's head, he thought to himself. Ibiki blinked and the clone exclaimed, "Pervy sage. Finally, I've been looking all over for you." Ibiki asked, "Uzumaki, how are you?" as Jiraiya put a hand on his shoulder. Jiraiya said to the clone, gesturing to the snakes, "He's a shadow clone, must have sent one out into the village to find me. What do you need? I'm a little busy here if you haven't noticed." Jiraiya nodded, and the clone exclaimed, "I know, but listen, the old man is in trouble, he needs your help." "I know, but even from here, I can tell that barrier is the four violet pillars technique. Not something a normal shinobi can easily take down, not even the old man if he's fighting off Orochimaru. I doubt even I can break through," Jiraiya said to the clone as he shook eyebrows. Ibiki and Jiraiya blinked as he said, "That's the thing, I might have a plan to take it down." "Bring it down. How?" "It's one of the most powerful barrier-type jutsus, only something extremely powerful like a tailed beast could break through," Ibiki replied with a grin. Jiraiya blinked and turned back to face the arena as the clone remarked, "Yeah. But my clone figured out that we won't have to break the barrier down. Just the tower it's on. It could be. Hey, young one. You have a lot of surprises in store," he patted the clone's head. The toad nodded and he said, "Hey, Gamahiro. Can you handle these guys by yourself?" With his katanas drawn, Gamahiro exclaimed, "Of course, Master Jiraiya." He said to Jiraiya, "These worms are nothing compared to me, now go help the old monkey." The toad sage nodded. He turned to Naruto and said, "Thank you, Ibiki, I'm leaving you in charge of Gamahiro, he'll deal with these guys, no sweat. I'm going to help the old man." "Okay, child, let's go assist the elderly man," he uttered, and the clone gave him a nod before racing off. Ibiki just smirked while he stared in shock. "That child. He's unique," he remarked, turning to face the serpents. He said, "Right then," as Gamahiro lunged at the snakes and severed the heads of two of them with his blades. He yelled, "Let's end this," as the counterattack got underway. Exam Stadium earlier with a sly smile on his face, Sarutobi glared at the young woman who appeared to be holding the soul of his fallen apprentice, Orochimaru. "Why are you so shocked, sensei? It's been 10 years since I left the village, old man. I've had a long time to complete my research, and the results are as you see. I've created a jutsu that will anchor me to this world forever. By using this jutsu, I can implant my spirit into that of a younger body, thereby regaining a sense of youth and bypassing age," Orochimaru explained to Sarutobi. Orochimaru shrugged and Sarutobi said, disgusted, "You truly have become an inhuman monster, your twisted sense of ideology, your immoral experiments. It's one of the reasons I didn't choose you to become the fourth Hokage. Honesty, I no longer care for such a silly title. The only reason I chose my old face was so that you would be filled with nostalgia at our reunion. All I want is to continue my research, to understand everything about this world, gain all the jutsus in the world and become the ultimate being. But I must admit, the jutsu I've created has a flaw. While I can transfer my soul into a newer body, eventually age catches up and I am forced to find a new, more youthful body. But after you are long dead and gone, I will have myself a new younger body to continue my pursuit," Orochimaru explained as Sarutobi's eyes widened and figured out Orochimaru's goals. Orochimaru grinned and he said, "I see. So that's why you want Sasuke Uchiha. You want to take over his body." "Correct. I plan to take over his body and make it my own, once it's been aged a bit and made more to my liking. The Uchiha have always fascinated me, with their Sharingan's abilities to copy ninjutsu, a useful tool for my research," he stated to the elderly gentleman who glared. Orochimaru grinned as Sarutobi yelled, "I will never let you have him. I will correct my mistakes from years ago, and kill you." You are much too late, Sensei, Orochimaru uttered, his former demeanor reappearing. Orochimaru said, you will die with this face being the last thing you ever see, as the first Hokage was about to unleash his wood style. Hey, snake bastard. They turned to face the Naruto Uzumaki clone who was standing in front of the barrier. He looked at Snake Sannin with a resolute glare in his eyes. Orochimaru jeered as Naruto glared at the Sannin. Oh, what's this? Does the Nine-Tails brat have some final words for the decrepit old man? Orochimaru grinned and Jirobo, the orange-haired sound ninja, laughed as he said, I do have something to say. Old man, we're going to get you out. Jirobo sneered at the Naruto clone. Fat chance brat. Nothing gets in or out of this barrier. So you might as well sit back and watch the old man croak. The clone shook his head and he yelled, Naruto, get out of here, there's nothing more you can do. He motioned to the floor and said, not going to happen. The thing I want to tell you, old man, he said, is that you might want to hold on, just before a burst of explosions occurred. Orochimaru exclaimed, what, as parts of the watchtower lined with explosive tags exploded all at once. The tower started to lean to one side, and the roof's foundations collapsed. Jirobo yelled, whoa. I can't keep my footing, as the roof beneath him started to collapse. The redhead sound Kunoichi, Tayuya, screamed, you idiot, hold your position or the barrier will come down. Just before she too lost her balance and the roof started to collapse. As the barrier was removed and the watchtower itself started to crumble, she cried out, shit. Sarutobi yelled, Enma, as the building and the forest collapsed and Enma multiplied, creating a cage to protect the cage. Guy exclaimed, Kakashi. Look, as the barrier jutsu and tower began to collapse. Flashing through hand signals, Kakashi ran ahead. Earth style. Mud wall. Exclaimed Kakashi, running ahead to form a wall of mud to shield the throng from the falling debris. The tower came down, creating a thick cloud of dust that covered the arena. Kabuto yelled, Lord Orochimaru, before the dust and rubble engulfed him. Orochimaru emerged from the debris and coughed up the dust when it had finally settled. Then, with his barrier down and his subordinates struggling to stand up, buried beneath a mound of rubble, his eyes grew wide. Kabuto yelled, Lord Orochimaru, hold on, I'm coming. But Kakashi and Guy stopped him. Kakashi remarked, you aren't going anywhere, Kabuto, to which Kabuto gave a frustrated growl. In the meantime, Orochimaru, still unable to believe what had happened, turned to face the devastation around him. Orochimaru swore, impossible, there's no way they could have taken down the barrier. Sarutobi remarked, you underestimate my shinobi, Orochimaru, as Enma reached out and lifted him clear of the rubble. Before Anbu members materialized in front of the Hokage, Sarutobi grinned and said, I will admit it's not the most orthodox method, but next time, make sure your barrier isn't on a location that can be easily toppled. They drew their swords and took off their cloaks, exclaiming, Lord Hokage. Zo shook his head and Sarutobi said, Zo, glad to see you and your men here. I'm curious as to how you came up with the plan to take down the barrier. Zo raised his blade and stated, the Uzumaki was the one who came up with the plan. With his thoughts on the Uzumaki beginning to change, Zo remarked, to be honest, if it weren't for his unconventional thinking, we'd never have thought of destroying the building to get inside. It was a risk, but one that might have just given us a chance. Sarutobi remarked, I see. Naruto sure is full of surprises. Where's the clone? Zo shook his head in response. The clone didn't make it, he got caught up in the debris and was dispelled. The current condition of the original is unknown, but if there are still clones protecting the civilians, then he must still be fighting Gaara, Zo said with a nod. At that moment, the resurrected cage materialized from the wreckage, their bodies and limbs mending as they reverted to their initial condition. Zo lamented, damn, not even a building will stop them, while he and his men brandished their weapons. So long as their souls are tied to this realm, or until Orochimaru cancels the jutsu, their bodies will continue to regenerate. I have a plan to stop them, but I need you to keep those other ninjas off my back, he told Zo with a nod. Understood, Lord Hokage, he uttered as he and his soldiers charged at the sound 4, emerging with an expression of extreme rage. Jibaro yelled, that damn brat. I'm going to fucking skin him, and then swore as Zo and his men slashed around with blades. Zo yelled, hold them off, as he and his men repelled the sound 4. Beside him, the two reanimated cages glared at Orochimaru. Do you honestly think this will change anything? You may have taken down my barrier, but you're still outmatched by my reanimated cage, and you don't have much chakra left. You're nothing but an old washed-up monkey. Orochimaru replied with a scowl. As two more Sarutobis emerged, Enma's eyes grew wide. I'm well aware, my former pupil. But this old monkey still has some tricks up his sleeves, exclaimed Sarutobi. Those gestures. With a furrowed brow, Sarutobi proceeded through the hand signals. Shadow clones? To think you would risk shortening your lifespan on something so reckless? Exclaimed Orochimaru. Sealing art. Dead demon consuming seal. Sarutobi exclaimed while doing the jutsu, and the Shinigami's ghostly form materialized behind him. It took the shape of a gaunt, translucent specter with a demonic face. It was considerably bigger than a typical human, with purple skin and long, shaggy white hair that sprouted two red horns. It has a tanto blade in its mouth and a set of prayer beads in one hand, all while wearing a large white kimono. A silhouette of Sarutobi, bound by the Shinigami's hair and made of chakra, hovered just in front of her. Sarutobi gazed at the creature, then glanced over his shoulder. Upon observing the creature, Sarutobi remarked, "So, this is the Shinigami." Looking back at Orochimaru and down to his heart, Sarutobi said, "So, it's true that only those that have created a contract with this being can see it. Otherwise, Orochimaru would have said something. My life will end here and now if the countermeasure I received from the Uzumaki sealing scroll doesn't work as it's supposed to, but I don't mind dying. Only scared that I won't be able to stop Orochimaru for good," Sarutobi said, hardening his resolve. As the first Hokage prepared to use a jutsu, Orochimaru held up his sword and said, "What's this? A jutsu even I am unfamiliar with. Interesting. It seems you have a few more tricks up your sleeve, sensei. But now it's time to bring this little reunion to an end." Suddenly, when the cage's feet abruptly turned into a swamp as they fell into the mud, and they heard, Earth-style, swamp of the underworld. Orochimaru exclaimed, "What, this jutsu?" just before a presence settled on an overturned root. Jiraiya stood atop the root and said, "Ho ho ho, it's been a while, Orochimaru." Orochimaru turned and gave his old teammate a glare. Orochimaru cursed, "You. I should have known you'd come running here," to Jiraiya's smile. Jiraiya turned to face his sensei and exclaimed, "You know me. I always like to ruin your day." With a sigh from Sarutobi, he said, "You're not looking so good, sensei. Has age finally caught up with you?" With a sly grin on her face, Jiraiya said, "It would seem so. How did you know to come here, and what of the village?" With the tide swiftly turning on the sand and sound, the counterattack was starting all over the village, giving no time for the surprise counter. "Don't worry, everything is under control. You taught them all after all, old man," Jiraiya smiled. "And as for me, let's just say a little fox told me to get here in a hurry." Sarutobi remarked, "I see. I guess I have Naruto to thank for this as well?" As Orochimaru gave a growl. "Even I must admit, I'm becoming more and more annoyed by that nine-tailed brat. Though I must say I was surprised you took on another apprentice. You haven't taken on anyone since little Minato. What changed your mind?" Orochimaru inquired as Jiraiya laughed and shish. He said, "What can I say, the kid surprises me," as Orochimaru raised his sword with a scowl. He exclaimed, "As touching as this is, this little reunion ends here," as Sarutobi and Jiraiya prepared and Hashirama used his wood style to pull them out of the mud. Jiraiya nodded and said, "Oh boy, this is not going to be easy. I suppose you have a plan, old man?" Jiraiya turned back to his sensei and nodded. "I do. The only way to stop them is to seal them away. I have to use the jutsu Minato used, but in my condition, I will need help. These two are not at the same level as they were when they were alive, but be careful, they are still strong," Sarutobi informed him. "Understood," Jiraiya said while making a series of hand signals. "Fire style. Fireball jutsu," he exclaimed, sending a tremendous flame hurtling in the direction of the three while Tobirama retaliated with his own water style. Jiraiya exclaimed, "Figures, even in a weaker state, these Hokage are tough," as Orochimaru lunged at his former teammate, his sword narrowly missing him. "Straight for the neck, just as usual, Orochimaru? You remain just as naive as ever, even after all these years." Orochimaru slashed his sword at his erstwhile ally. Jiraiya countered, wind style. Breakthrough, as he sucked in air. He exclaimed, "Earth style. Mud wall," as the wind attack was thwarted by the mud wall. But he had to duck as a snake sprang out from under his sleeve and Orochimaru's sword sliced through the stone. It was only blocked at the 11th hour when Jiraiya's hair spread out, enveloping his body in a dense, spike-like armor. The snake was killed by the spikes as Orochimaru's neck extended to bite his erstwhile comrade, but the log that had been there before vanished in a cloud of smoke. Orochimaru yelled, "Substitution! Ga!" as Jiraiya leapt out of the ground and struck him in the chest with a palm. On oldie but classic, he said, muttering a small curse as he watched the body turn to mud. He exclaimed, "Damn! Copying bastard!" just before the second Hokage materialized and launched an unexpected attack on him. Before the reincarnated Kage stabbed him in the chest with his kunai, he exclaimed, "Damn!" Only for there to be an additional replacement. Well, that was close. Jiraiya exclaimed before Hashirama materialized above him, encircling his fist with chakra as Jiraiya ducked, and the first fist collided with the earth, leaving a sizable crater. He turned to face the first Hokage and asked, "So, you're Tsunade's grandfather?" He smiled. "I see where Tsunade got her strength from," just before Orochimaru materialized behind him, poised to take him out. He slashed Jiraiya in half with his sword, exclaiming, "It ends here, Jiraiya," just to see Jiraiya turn into a pile of mud and smile. Orochimaru cursed, "Damn!" Substitution. Just as Jiraiya and the two clones grasped a spiraling sphere. He then felt a rush of spinning wind. "You don't realize how accurate you are," he uttered as he forcefully struck Orochimaru in the back with the jutsu. Orochimaru screamed as the swirling ball of condensed chakra tore into his back and sent him flying into the numerous roots growing from the first Hokage's wood style. Rasengan! He and his clones yelled. The Rasengans, a powerful technique used by the two Jiraiya clones, also damaged Hashirama and Tobirama's bodies and sent them hurtling into the roots at frightening speeds. As Kabuto snapped his head to see his master crash into one of the roots, his eyes widened, but he was too busy blocking Kakashi and Gai's attack. He exclaimed, "Lord Orochimaru," just before he had to dodge a face-punching Reikari. "Your fight is with us," exclaimed Kakashi, as the betraying shinobi was struck by a powerful blow from Gai. Kabuto cursed before feeling a quick kick to his ribs and spitting out blood. "Well said, my eternal rival," Gai smiled as Kabuto swore, healing his internal wounds with his chakra. As this was going on, Orochimaru cursed and emerged from his broken body resembling a snake shedding its skin. But the Rasengan was a formidable jutsu, and not even his replacement jutsu could fully undo the damage the Rasengan had inflicted. "Damn, that jutsu, even in death, Minato's jutsu is still as powerful as the day he created it," he grumbled. He was about to say, "This is not going to plan, but I still have the advantage. I just need to," when two of Sarutobi's clones grabbed the resurrected Kage's bodies. Black marks appeared on its skin, and Sarutobi exclaimed, "Now," as the Shinigami wrapped the prayer beads around its arm. Its arm shot out of the clones, into the Kage's chest, before diving into the silhouette of Sarutobi. Then, as the Shinigami started to remove their souls from their bodies, they stopped moving. Orochimaru initially believed that this wouldn't be sufficient to thwart them. But when their bodies started to malfunction and he lost control, that was when it all changed. As Hashirama and Tobirama came to, Orochimaru exclaimed, "What is this jutsu?" "Saru, please pardon us," Hashirama grinned at his former student. He said, "Looks like we gave you a lot of trouble." Sarutobi shook his head. "No, I must be the one to ask for forgiveness. I am about to seal your souls away from the afterlife so that they can be never used again with the Edo Tensei," Sarutobi replied with a nod. "I see, it's alright Sarutobi, this is for the best, this way we can never harm anyone else, you made the right call," Tobirama replied with a grin. He said, "You have made us proud, Sandame," just before their souls were taken from their bodies, sealed inside the clones, and eventually dissipated. When it was discovered that the two sound shinobi who had failed the Chunin exam were inside, the two Kage's bodies crumbled to dust. Orochimaru gave Sarutobi a glare and said, "You used your subordinates as a sacrifice?" Sarutobi was disgusted. Jiraiya stood next to his sensei and yelled, "Did you truly not value the life of your men? They believed in you and you used them like puppets?" Orochimaru said, drawing his sword, "Value the lives of my men? Don't be ridiculous. You two are products of a naive belief. They served their purpose, that's all that matters," and Enma went back to Sarutobi's hand. The three charged, and Jiraiya caught the sword midair as Sarutobi managed to knock it away after Orochimaru and Sarutobi traded blows. Jiraiya proclaimed, "I'll be taking this," as he drove the sword firmly into a tree root. With a curse, Orochimaru gave way to Sarutobi as Enma emerged from the staff, ready to suffocate the snake Sanin. Orochimaru yelled, "Ninja art!" striking Shadow Snake, as several snakes sprang out of his sleeve and encircled Enma. Enma swore, "Damn it, you little snake. just as Sarutobi materialized in front of Orochimaru, grabbing him by the shoulders and glaring into his eyes. As the Shinigami's arm protruded from his chest and sank into Orochimaru's chest, he exclaimed, "This ends here." He mentally ordered his sword to come to him as soon as he realized he was immobile, but Jiraiya was doing everything he could to keep the blade in the tree. As the sword struggled to break free of his grasp in the tree, Jiraiya yelled, "Damn it, hurry up, old man. This sword is annoying. I don't know how long I can keep it at bay." "Damn you, old man," Orochimaru muttered as he attempted to use a jutsu but was unsuccessful. With frightened exclamation, "My jutsu, they aren't working," Sarutoni grinned. Orochimaru's eyes widened as the Shinigami appeared before him. The dead demon-consuming seal. "It will not allow you to use your own jutsu to stop it. It will take your soul and seal it inside of me. Your soul is halfway out right now, so you should be able to see it," Sarutobi said. Before the spirits of Tobirama and Hashirama were severed from Sarutobi's body and ingested by the demon, they manifested. Orochimaru cried out, "This is the Shinigami," as he saw the face of death. Sarutobi smiled as he yelled, "No, no, I refuse to die like this. I won't be killed by a withered old man like yourself." The Shinigami was still drawing out the man's soul when Sarutobi yelled, "Orochimaru, there is no escaping this. This is where you die." It seems that this is the jutsu that the fourth Hokage utilized to contain the 9 tails. Orochimaru moaned in agony as his soul began to be gradually extracted from him. "It seems to be slower than before," Orochimaru remarked with a smile. Orochimaru asked with a sinister smile as Sarutobi cursed, "I guess this means you are almost out of strength, Sarutobi. Otherwise, my soul would have already been pulled out, sensei. So I wonder, what will happen if you don't have the strength to pull my soul free?" As Sarutobi gave him a fierce look, Orochimaru remarked, "And don't you see? My men and the sands are destroying the village, even as we speak. Even if you manage to kill me, my side will win regardless." Damn, Jiraiya uttered while straining to keep the sword in position. As Sarutobi swore, he exclaimed, "Old man, hurry up. I can't hold this damn thing forever." He's right. I'm running out of strength to extract his soul completely. Looking down at Orochimaru's soul struggling against the Shinigami, Sarutobi surmised, "I don't think I can pull his entire soul out. The 2 shadow clones I made used up most of my chakra. Even pulling the souls of Hashirama and Tobirama sensei pushed it to its limit." Enma raised a brow from his prone position, and he realized, "But if I can't take his soul, then maybe I can take something else from him. The one thing he cares about the most." Enma asked, "Sarutobi?" As Sarutobi gave a quiet smile, he said, "You're right, Orochimaru. I don't have the strength to pull out your soul," before raising his head and giving his pupil a fierce look. As a hawk circled overhead, he exclaimed, "However, you should know to never underestimate the shinobi of the Hidden Leaf." The Leaf Shinobi drove back the forces throughout the village. From the Anbu and their fellow shinobi as they turned the tide of the war and defeated the enemy forces, to the Hyuga clan, Inuzuka, Abarame, and Ino Shikacho generations. They will fight to protect their home and the ones they love. They gain their strength by protecting each other, and that is something you never understood. Sarutobi screamed as Orochimaru's. Orochimaru's eyes grew wide as Sarutobi yelled, "And even though I can't pull out your soul, I can give you an appropriate punishment. You who have been obsessed with ninjutsu, I will take your jutsu from you, forever." Orochimaru's eyes widened as the Shinigami raised his blade above him, and he yelled, "What?" As the blade descended, Orochimaru yelled, "No, no, stop. Don't do it. Stop." And the blade severed the arms of his soul from his body. "Seal!" Sarutobi exclaimed, his arms closing inward around him, and the same seal that Naruto had materialized on his chest. Orochimaru's eyes grew wide as his arms dropped limp at his sides, gradually turning a deeper violet color, and he lost all sense of control over them. He was completely unable to sense any of them or the jutsu he had spent years honing. Everything was gone. He mumbled feebly, "My arms," feeling them elude him, while Sarutobi experienced the Shinigami stealing his soul. Orochimaru cried out, What have you done to me? What have you done to my arms?" as Sarutobi started to feel weak. Sarutobi raised his hand in a single-handed gesture, thinking weakly, "It started. I hope this works. I still have my promise to keep." With Naruto. Uzumaki sealing art. Reaper's Deal. Describes how a tiny seal in the form of an Uzumaki swirl glowed red as it moved across the elderly man's heart on his chest. As the Shinigami's hair bindings burned off and he was set free, The seal spread over the upper half of Sarutobi's soul, sealing it in place. It appeared as though the Shinigami saw this. Some time after the creation of the dead demon-consuming seal, a long-dead Uzumaki seal master developed the sealing jutsu known as the Reaper's Deal. Its goal was to temporarily deny the Shinigami access to the entirety of the user's soul by attaching a portion of it to their body. The seal would not, however, remain intact forever. The Shinigami would decide when the deal would end and require a part of the user's soul to be taken as payment in exchange for an extended lease on life. Abruptly, Sarutobi lost his balance and hit the ground. The sword came to a stop, and Jiraiya yelled, "Sensei," before racing over to his unconscious sensei. The elderly man felt his legs grow useless and grabbed at them. But the old man smiled and looked up at Orochimaru. The old man started to faint, and Orochimaru glared at him, saying, "What are you smiling at, you shitty old man?" But not before he noticed the dwindling representation of his student's youth and ruminated on the sentimental recollections he shared with his deceased student. Enma cried out, "Sarutobi," while Jiraiya felt for his pulse. He turned to face a glaring Orochimaru and said, "He's alive, but in no condition to fight." Saken and the other members of the Sound Four broke off their fight and ran to their master, exclaiming, "Lord Orochimaru! Lord Orochimaru! Are you all right?" he exclaimed, causing Orochimaru to scream in agony and glare at his former mentor, who was now soundly sleeping in Jiraiya's arms. Orochimaru said, "It's over. We're leaving," as the four nodded and seized him. However, not before Zou and his Anbu had touched down next to Jiraiya. Zou exclaimed, leading his men to brandish their swords in their direction, "You're not going anywhere." However, that did not deter them as Kidomaru, the six-armed shinobi, demonstrated his strength through hand signals. He spat a large spider's web at the Jiraiya and blocked them, yelling, "Ninja art! Spider's web net!" As Orochimaru and his men fled the area, Zou cursed, "Damn! This web is made of chakra. Should we go after them?" Zou exclaimed, glaring at Jiraiya's retreating forms. "Shit! They're getting away." "No, the battle is over. Besides, we don't have enough men to chase after them and we need to secure our defenses. And we've got bigger concerns to worry about," he replied as he returned to the previous guy. Zou exclaimed, "Lord Hokage," as he and his men hurried to meet him. Jiraiya shook his head and he asked, "Lord Third, is he?" Jiraiya stated, "He's alive, but he needs immediate medical attention," and Zou nodded in agreement. He turned to face his men and said, "Understood." Sarutobi gave a grunt, and he gave the order, "Go find a medic, tell them to get here as soon as possible." As soon as Sarutobi opened his eyes, he said, I'm fine." He nodded, saying, "Focus on the others," as Zou continued to look at the Sandaime. "Yes, Lord Hokage," he exclaimed as he and his men leapt to the side, with Jiraiya supporting him. "Old obstinate man," Jiraiya uttered. He nodded at Sarutobi and said, "Well, it looks like the countermeasure worked, you're still alive." He clutched his legs and uttered, "Yes, it appears that I owe Naruto once more. If he hadn't discovered that sealing scroll, I would definitely be dead." Jiraiya arched an eyebrow at him as he said, "However, I'm afraid this is the end of my career. I can't feel my legs." 2 days had passed since the sand, sound, and leaf invasion. The infrastructure of Konoha had been damaged by the battle, and many shinobi had died protecting their home. However, the Leaf Village shinobi had shown their mettle by repelling the invaders and demonstrating that their will of fire remained as strong as it had been on the day the first Hokage assumed office. For their part, Sanagakure didn't realize they'd been tricked by Orochimaru until the sand had withdrawn. Not far from Sand Village was the fourth Kage's body found. They had calculated that he was killed prior to the start of the Chunin Exams. The Sand gave themselves over to the Land of Fire after seeing their mistake, and the Leaf Village accepted their surrender. In exchange, the Land of Wind would have to provide the Land of Fire with a great deal of information and compensation. However, for the time being, it was a time for reconstruction and grieving for the lives lost. The shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, those not on active duty, stood at attention atop Hokage Manor during a memorial service for the shinobi who were killed in the invasion, the sky darkening with storm clouds. The most important of them was Sarutobi, who was now confined to a wheelchair following his altercation with Orochimaru. Flowers were being laid for their fallen allies by the shinobi gathered behind him, who were in silent mourning. As the Konoha 12 members and their sensei stood in silent observation for the funeral, Naruto stood next to Hinata, Sakura, Sasuke, and the others. His expression was dejected as he observed the bouquet of flowers placed in memory of the shinobi who had died. He was anticipated to soon return to active duty because his wounds were not life-threatening. He wondered if there was anything more he could have done to stop this, though, and felt regret and guilt. Feeling like a failure, Naruto thought, so many people. I could have done more. He appeared to have read Kakashi's thoughts when he abruptly heard, there was nothing more you could have done, Naruto, as he turned to face Kakashi. By leading Gaara away from the stadium, and coming up with that plan to save the third Hokage, you've done more for the village than anyone could have expected of a genin. These shinobi gave their lives for the village, mourn them, but never doubt their commitment to protecting their home, Kakashi said while staring at Naruto. He's right, Naruto, Iruka remarked, glancing at Konohamaru, who was clinging to his pants legs. Every shinobi knows that one day they will have to put their lives on the line for their home. They died, protecting their home and their loved ones. You are a shinobi worthy of the hidden leaf, and I am proud of you, he said while wrapping his arms around his waistline. Konohamaru said, thank you, big bro, as Hinata nodded and he looked at the young child. Naruto then felt Hinata's hand suddenly embrace his own. She was showing a rare display of bravery, but her only concern was getting Naruto better. He nodded to Hinata and returned his attention to the funeral service, feeling that the small gesture had calmed his troubled thoughts. Kakashi-sensei, he uttered as the shinobi wearing a mask gave him a look. Can we talk after the funeral? He asked, and Kakashi looked at the boy for a moment before nodding. He replied, yeah, Naruto, before returning his attention to the funeral. In front of the gathered crowd, Sarutobi, Kaharu Utatane, and Homura Mitokado wheeled their former teammate. Looking out to the bereaved face, Sarutobi said, today, we mourn the losses of those that gave their lives for Konoha. Our enemies attacked us, intent on striking a crippling blow upon our home. He gripped his armrest and said, we lost many comrades, friends, parents, lovers, family. As they turned to face Sarutobi, but even in our darkest hour, the will of fire burned brightly within every one of you. And together, the village of the Hidden Leaf endured and survived, he said. As the shinobi nodded in the clouds, almost metaphorically, parted to allow the sun to shine through, he exclaimed, so hold your heads high, for even though the leaves of our comrades have fallen, their devotion fuels the will of fire, and it shall continue to burn so long as we keep it alight. Everyone started to leave as the service came to an end. Naruto nodded to Hinata before they quietly left with their teams. Iruka turned to face Naruto, grinning at the boy who had matured since his academy days of mischief. The will of fire will undoubtedly continue, he thought as Sarutobi grinned and turned to face his companion. Then, his thoughts returned to the aftermath of the battle. A day ago, private suite at Konoha Hospital. While the doctors prodded at the elderly man's feet in an attempt to elicit a response, Sarutobi sat on the bed. Watching the process with him were his former students Jiraiya and Kaharu Utatane, as well as Homura Mitokado, his former teammates. But he had no feeling at all because his legs were numb. Sarutobi nodded in the doctor's side. I'm sorry, Lord Third. It looks like the jutsu you used has severed all connection to your legs. I'm afraid there's nothing we can do. He acknowledged that and thanked the doctor as the latter hung his head and left the room. He shook his head, turning to face his fellow elders. Don't give me those looks, this was the price I had to pay using that jutsu. It's a small price, but one I'm willing to pay. However, with this I can no longer continue my duties as the third Hokage, Sarutobi said with a skeptical expression. Homura asked, adjusting his glasses, how did you survive the jutsu, Sarutobi? As Sarutobi glanced at Jiraiya and then turned back to face his fellow elder, he asked, from what I recall, the dead demon-consuming seal had a guaranteed fatality after use. How did you manage to avoid that? He showed the seal above his heart, the seal that wrapped around his chest, and the seal that sealed Orochimaru's arms. I've been studying the seal ever since Minato used it a long time ago. I managed to come up with this countermeasure, he said. It temporarily staves off the seal's final effects, but in exchange, my legs were offered up as compensation to the Shinigami, but it will not last forever. My soul is bound for the Shinigami's stomach, it's only a matter of time. How much time I don't fully know. It could be days, months or years, but one day this seal will fail and I will die, he said while Kaharu and Homura were saddened at their companion. Kaharu said, Sarutobi, and the elderly man shook his head. It's fine, I was, the third Hokage of the Hidden Leaf. I'm willing to put my life on the line to protect the village. Being paralyzed is a small price in my opinion, and death comes for us all eventually. I just have the benefit of knowing beforehand, he said while the two elders nodded. Sarutobi sighed and Homura continued. Regardless, with you no longer capable of continuing your duties as Hokage, it's high time a new successor was chosen. A new voice said, I couldn't agree more, as they turned to face a man wearing bandages, his black hair spiky and wrinkled, and his chin scarred in the shape of an X. Jiraiya crossed his arms and remarked, Danzo. Figures you'd show up now, especially when it comes to the position of Hokage. Not even retired yet, and already you want a shot at the position. Jiraiya shrugged and Danzo said, Jiraiya, always so impudent. How is it that you still have no respect for your elders after all these years? He said, oh, I have respect, just none for you, while Danzo gave him a fierce look. The elders raised an eyebrow at this, and Sarutobi said, enough, regardless, they are right Jiraiya, it's time a new successor was chosen. And given my condition and our current circumstances, I was hoping you would take the position of Godem Hokage? You can't be serious, Danzo said, gesturing with his cane to Jiraiya. You'd give the position of 5th Hokage to him? He's barely in the village and does not have the character necessary to lead, he said while glaring at Jiraiya. From a logical standpoint, it makes sense actually, Homura remarked while rubbing his facial hair. Jiraiya is one of the strongest we have in the village currently. He also trained the 4th Hokage and mastered many jutsu, including the Rasengan. Like Orochimaru, he was trained by Sarutobi, so he carries the will of fire just as 4th once did. He's a viable candidate for the position, he said with a nod. I agree, right now we need a strong leader. The peace talks with the Sand will begin shortly, but we don't know if the other villages will take bold action and attack us in our weakened state. If we had a strong leader, one of the legendary Sannin as Hokage, they may think twice about attacking, Kaharu said while shaking his head. Jiraiya said, sorry, no can do, as they both stared at him. No offense, but I never really cared about becoming Hokage. Plus, I have a spy network I need to maintain. Danzo remarked, a spy network that failed to notice Orochimaru's plot to strike at Konoha, while Jiraiya smiled. Oh, I noticed. Why do you think I came back? And what about your spy network? Surely yours would have picked up on his plot as well? He said while keeping his mouth shut. Besides, the invasion was long in the works, it was only recently when they allied with the Sand that caused me to return home. If I wasn't here, things could have turned out a lot different, he said with a nod. Jiraiya grinned and Sarutobi remarked, Jiraiya is right, but there has to be a new Hokage chosen, and you are one of the few that fit the qualification. Sarutobi's eyes widened slightly as he said, what if I can bring back someone that's just as strong as I am? They can fill in the position of Hokage better than I ever could. That's not possible, can it? He asked, getting Jiraiya's nod. He said, yep, I'm going to find Tsunade. She'll become the next Hokage, to Danzo's derisive chuckles. Danzo crossed his arms and remarked, impossible. Tsunade Senju left the village years ago, and we've had no contact with her since then. How can we trust her to become Hokage when she ran out on her duty to the village? Tsunade lost both her brother Nawaki and her lover, Dan, during the Second Great War. Losses like that can have a serious impact on anyone, but I believe I can bring her back. Besides, she is one of the best medical ninjutsu specialists in the world. Having her back in the village would be a boon. She can heal our more critically injured shinobi, although I doubt anything can bring Sensei's legs back, Jiraiya said with a sigh. Homura and Kaharu nodded, and Danzo moaned but eventually gave in. My legs are irrelevant. Regardless, if you can bring Tsunade back to the village, then it will help strengthen the village, Sarutobi said. One day it would be his turn to be Hokage. All he had to do was wait. Hamaru responded, very well, we will inform the feudal lord. We shall also send 3 members of the Anbu to accompany you on the search team, to Jiraiya's dismissal. He narrowed his eyes at Homura, Kaharu, and Danzo. That won't be necessary, I won't be running away and I plan on coming back. Besides, I have someone in mind to come with me. Uzumaki Naruto, he said. No, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki needs to remain in the village. His presence is needed here, to dissuade the other villages from attacking. He's not to leave the village, Danzo said while narrowing his eyes. Jiraiya asked, you mean you don't want him to be captured by other villages? While Danzo gave the Toad Sage a menacing look. Jiraiya glared and clutched his fist as Danzo said, he is a weapon that has shown new potential since the finals. It's once again my recommendation he has given to me for further training. Jiraiya stood his ground in front of the elderly elder and remarked, you mean so you can turn him into one of your root agents? Fat chance. As Danzo held his ground, Jiraiya threatened, last I recall you were supposed to have disbanded Root, and I'm the boy's legal guardian, and I won't ever let you touch him. Sarutobi yelled, enough, This is no time for arguing. As he stopped the two and revealed how much chakra he possessed. Even though he was no longer able to use his legs, he wasn't worthless. Danzo, we'll discuss your root operations later. And as for the mission I approve, Jiraiya takes Naruto with him. He has a unique ability to change people's minds. He did inspire a country to ally with us and they named a bridge after him. Which is where some of the supplies being used to repair the village have come from. I think he may have the best chance of bringing Tsunade back, Sarutobi said with a nod. Besides, he won't even be leaving the border. My intel says that Tsunade has been coasting around the Land of Fire recently, so he'll be fine. Besides, the kid's proved himself, hasn't he? During the invasion, he held off the out-of-control one-tailed Jinchuriki, and it was his out-of-the-box thinking that saved the old man's life. He should be eligible to be promoted to Chunin. He asked as Hamaru and Koor exchanged glances. The Chunin exam promotions are currently suspended and under review until the next Hokage has been chosen. The committee is also looking over all factors before we can begin approving promotions. And while Uzumaki Naruto has certainly improved in only a month, I doubt he's ready for the rank of Chunin, Koru said with a nod. The elders glared at Jiraiya. You mean you don't want to promote him because of his Jinchuriki status? Sarutobi looked at Jiraiya and said, that is up for discussion. For now, we focus on repairing, burying our lost, and locating Tsunade. Jiraiya, as the still active Hokage, I permit you to take Naruto with you. Once essential repairs are done, and he's fully healed, go out and find Tsunade, he said with a nod. Comprehended, he said, turning back to face the elders. This meeting is adjourned if there is nothing further to discuss. I need to rest, he stated, and the three elders nodded before leaving the room. Sighing, Sarutobi leaned back against his pillow. That went better than expected, although I fear Danzo will be more of a problem later down the line. He's always had his agenda. He's been gunning for your seat ever since you gave it to Minato. But I agree, he'll be a source of trouble in the future. He was supposed to have shut down the Root organization years ago, yet I still had reports of shady activity, Jiraiya said with a sigh. Danzo may have his agendas and less compassionate methods to achieve them, but he genuinely does care for the village, in his way. I just hope that I can curb his enthusiasm with what little time I have left, Sarutobi said as Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. Ask me honestly, old man. How long are you going to live? Sarutobi said, raising 2 fingers. 2 years. Right now Sarutobi gripped his legs and looked down at them. That was the 2 years the Shinigami had given him to sort things out. The Shinigami would then take his soul and imprison him inside its stomach indefinitely after that. Nevertheless, knowing when he was going to die gave him a sense of peace rather than terror as most people would. His grandson ran up to him as he smiled and turned to face the Uzumaki. I will not hold myself to the mistakes I have made in the past. I have hesitated when I should have been more decisive. Holding his grandson close, Sarutobi thought, I will keep my promises in one day. I hope to see the man I know he will become. Asuma wheeled him away. As Sakura and Sasuke headed home, Naruto bid them farewell with a wave. It was just the two of them now, and Kakashi turned to face Naruto after they had stood silently for a while. Before Naruto turned to look around, Kakashi said, Okay, Naruto, what did you want to talk about? Naruto asked, Kakashi-sensei, can we take this conversation somewhere else? Kakashi arched a brow and nodded. As Kakashi and Naruto raced off, Hinata watched from a distance and then followed her team. Very well, he said. The third training facility. After arriving at the training ground with Kakashi, Naruto turned to face the stone memorial of the deceased shinobi before turning back to face Kakashi. He asked, Okay, Naruto, now that we're here, what did you want to talk to me about? As Naruto steeled his nerves by taking a deep breath. Kakashi-sensei, he uttered while glancing at the young man. His single eye widened before he schooled his features. I know the truth about my parents. That my father was Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime, and my mother was Kushina Uzumaki. He took out the journal and said, and don't say you don't know. I found my mother's journal and the old man confirmed it. As Kakashi sighed and stared at the journal, he said, it told me everything. My father's name, my mother's name, the fact that my mother was the 9 Tails Jinchuriki before me, things about you I shouldn't know, everything. I see, Kakashi remarked, glancing at the boy. Naruto asked, where did you find that? As he put the journal back in his pouch. First day of the training month, when I got angry at you for training Sasuke over me, I ran out into the forest and fell into one of Dad's hidden bunkers. That's when I found the journal and learned the truth about my parents. Were you ever going to tell me? He asked while staring in silence at Kakashi and nodding. At some point, but I was given strict orders not to, not until you were deemed mature enough to handle the information. I never counted on you finding out so soon, he said with a sigh. The question he'd been wanting to ask since learning the truth was, neither did the old man. How come you never talked to me, during my youth? I was your sensei's son. How come I never met you until I was placed on your team? He had to clench his fist to keep his emotions in check. He looked down and said, it was partly my responsibility to the village, but if I'm being honest, guilt. I know it's not a good excuse, and nothing I say can ever change that, but it's the truth. I've carried a lot of guilt throughout both my life and my shinobi career. If you've read her journal, then you know what happened to Rin and Obito, right? He asked with a nod. After they died. And then your parents during the Nine Tails attack. I found myself unable to connect with people. I even had trouble looking at you without being reminded of them. Kakashi shook his head and Naruto had to ask, did you hate me? I was your father's student, and he was my mentor and a father to me after mine. He passed away. I should have been there the night they died. But I had been given orders to stay out of the battle. And your father, he wouldn't have allowed that. Naruto, however, never felt that way about you. But I guess I did have hatred for myself, he said, nodding to himself. Yeah, he was the Hokage after all. He'd have never let anyone put their life on the line except his own. At least that's what Pervy Sage said and what Mum's journal said, he said while avoiding tears. Yes, your folks were the best people I've ever met. Naruto looked at his sensei before turning to face the monument honoring all the shinobi who had lost their lives protecting Leaf Village. You remind me of them so much, it hurts sometimes. I know I can never make up for the years I should have spent looking after you. And I'm sorry, and I hope you can understand at least and find it in your heart to forgive me one day, Kakashi said. I think I matured a bit during my training and I began to understand that you, the old man, my parents, and Pervy Sage have a duty and responsibility to the village, he said, shaking his head. You know, a month ago, I probably would have screamed my head off at you, maybe even punching you in the gut like I did Pervy Sage. One child is not as important as the village and its residents. I understand that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And even though I was upset with you for teaching Sasuke, I can see why it was necessary. Therefore, I won't hold it against you because I'm not the type of person who harbors resentment. Furthermore, I refuse to act like a whiny little child over it. One day, I will honor my parents by becoming the shinobi they always knew I could be. I'll become the Orange Hokage, because my father was the Yellow Flash, and my mother was the Blood Red Habanero, he declared, grinning despite the tears in his eyes. As he patted Naruto on the shoulder and grinned, Kakashi saw the son of his mentor and felt both pride in his newfound maturity and regret for not being there for him. He was surprised by the maturity he displayed, both now and during the invasion, and he hoped that one day he could make it up to him. For now, though, he needed to know how proud he was of him. With a smile on his face, he said, I'm sure your parents are proud of you, just as I am. If you ever want to talk about your parents, don't hesitate to ask. I wouldn't mind sharing some stories Master Jiraiya doesn't know. Naruto nodded in agreement. There were a lot of things the two would have to work out between themselves, but every journey starts with a single step, and they took that one as they turned to face the monument. I like that, he said as they both stared at the names of those who had fallen. Greetings, Kakashi-sensei. In my battle with Gaara, he allowed the one-tailed Shukaku to take over, but during the battle, when Gamabunta and I used the transformation jutsu to turn into the Nine Tails, Kakashi had to recoil at that, asking Naruto as he looked at him. Naruto laughed a little and he said, if you did that at the stadium, you'd have given the audience a heart attack. Yes, I'm happy I took it somewhere else. In any case, Shukaku said something strange. He yelled something that didn't make sense. What was it? Kurama, I believe. Kakashi furrowed her brows in response to his question. I mean, it wasn't an attack. So what do you think it means? As Kakashi hummed to himself, he asked. I've never heard of this word before, so I have no idea. But given that demons are somewhat cunning creatures, I don't think you should take it too seriously. Though Naruto nodded, he was still mentally racking his brains over it. It's best not to dwell on it too much, Kakashi counseled. Kurama. Wonder what it means. He wondered, stirring inside the Nine Tails as he swore at the bothersome Tanuki. He hated that the creature spoke his name, which his father had given him. Stupid Tankui. Always running his big mouth, he said, falling asleep as thoughts of the Sage of Six Paths played in his head and he reminisced about better times. Konoha Business District. The following day after receiving his clearance for active duty, Naruto and the Konoha 12 set about fixing up the city. While most of the work involved simple cleanup and small repairs, some jobs required more heavy lifting, and who could do that better than a man capable of creating almost 1,000 clones of himself? All right, one more. Naruto shouted to his clones, as he wore his new clothes minus the armor platings and had his hoodie unzipped. A little more to the left. The construction workers were provided with heavy wood supplies by the clones. Naruto exclaimed, "A little more," and "Drop it," as he and the clones set down the supplies and dabbed at their perspiration. "That should be it. Is this spot okay, sir?" he exclaimed, receiving a thumbs up from the construction worker. Naruto smiled and he said, "Yeah, that's perfect, thanks, kid. You're a lifesaver." "Ah, it was nothing," he exclaimed, giving his head a scratch. "I'm just awesome." "Hey, what about us? We did all the heavy lifting." Turning to face his clones, Naruto exclaimed, "Yeah." Sakura groaned as she assisted in clearing some of the debris, but he yelled to his clones, "You guys are me. Why do we have to keep having this conversation?" She said, "I swear, Naruto may look different, but he still acts like an idiot," to which Ino shrugged. As she assisted in fixing her family's flower shop, she remarked, "He is Naruto after all, but you have to admit, those clones of his have been a huge help in the repairs. Otherwise, we'd be at this till the sun goes down. Plus, he's not the same as before. I mean, he took down that Gaara guy and he was as big as the Hokage monument," she said while Sakura nodded. Sakura said, turning to face Naruto as he was giving his clones instructions, "Yeah, that still surprises me too. He used to be the dead last back at the academy, and now he's so strong, makes me kind of jealous actually," she said while Ino nodded. Ino shook her head and sighed, "I know how you feel, makes me feel like I've slacked off since the academy." She moaned, "We didn't even make it past the preliminaries," and then turned to face the roof. She yelled at Shikamaru, who was lounging on the rooftops, "And you? Stop lazing off and help, damn it." He grumbled, "Man, it's too much of a drag. I'd rather be cloud watching than doing repairs," as Ino became irritated. Ino yelled, "You are cloud watching. Now get off your butt and help." Choji merely sighed and began to move some of the debris aside with his partial expansion jutsu. Choji said, "Give it a break, Ino. You know, once Shikamaru gets comfortable it's near impossible to get him to do anything," as he gathered the debris in his enlarged hand and threw it into the big construction bins. Ino shook her head and groaned, "I can't believe this guy made it to the finals. Why did I have to be on this team?" She stated, "I'd rather be on a team with Sasuke-kun," her eyes forming hearts. "Fat chance, Ino pig. Sasuke likes being on a team with me." They both stood up to face Ino, who exclaimed, "Oh yeah. We'll see about that, billboard brow." "Do they ever stop talking about Sasuke?" Kiba questioned, looking at him along with the others. "Yeah," deadpanned Naruto, Shikamaru, and Choji, but Sasuke chose to ignore them and began working on the repairs. As he approached Hinata, Naruto saw that she was having trouble with one of the debris. Naruto asked, "Hey Hinata, need a hand?" as she nodded and jumped a little. Hinata said, Oh, yes, please. Thank you, Naruto-kun," as Naruto gave her a nod of assistance. She shook her head and he said, "It's okay, you're still recovering, aren't you? So you should take it easy." "I'm fine. After the exams I had a checkup, and they managed to finish up any lingering injuries. But you should be the one taking it easy. You were injured during the invasion," Hinata said with a sigh. Hinata laughed at him as he grinned and said, I'm fine. My injuries only looked bad, if anything I was just drained of my chakra and needed some rest. Now I'm fully healed up and ready to go." Ino, meanwhile, blinked while observing the two. Sakura. When did Naruto and Hinata get so chummy?" Ino questioned, her gaze narrowing as well. Sakura said, unsure of how to react to this, "Yeah, I noticed it too. Last I recall she could barely form 2 sentences around him without blushing or stuttering. When the heck did this happen?" Choji asked, "Is it that big of a deal?" as Ino angrily glared at him. Pointing to them, Ino hissed in a low voice, "It is a big deal. You know how big of a crush she has on him. Before, he barely knew she existed, and now they have casual conversations. That, my friend, is the sign of a blossoming romance. Just like those romance novels I read. This kind of gossip is prime real estate for me. I mean, I don't get what she sees in him compared to Sasuke, but a maiden's heart is being answered," she said with her hands together. She continued, "A man like you will never understand the struggle that is attracting the heart of the one you admire," as Shikamaru sighed and Sakura nodded. "I'm so glad I kept quiet. She will question me non-stop for a month if she discovers that I am aware of their hospital visits. No, thank you, he thought to himself before closing his eyes and returning to slumber. Sasuke, meanwhile, glanced at Naruto and gave the Uzumaki a slight glare while reviewing the fight in his mind. Sasuke thought back to Shukaku's enormous form, Naruto. He's getting stronger and stronger. I didn't get to do anything, yet somehow, I feel like I had no chance against Gaara, not when he took on that form. However, Naruto managed to defeat him. Was it because he received training from a Sannin member that he became so strong in just 1 month? As Sasuke turned to face Naruto, he thought. Oi, Naruto, Sasuke yelled as he caught his eye. Naruto questioned, what do you want, Sasuke? While Sasuke gave a scowl. While everyone else paused to stare at him, he asked, how did you get one of the Sannin to train you? As Naruto gave Kiba a little glare, Kiba said, hey yeah, that's been bugging me too. Why the heck would someone of the legendary Sannin train a loser like you? As Kiba snarled, Naruto said, I'm the loser? Remind me again, who lost their fight? After standing up in Naruto's face, Kiba exclaimed, only because you farted in my face. I bet I can beat you this time. Naruto answered as the two smacked heads, bring it on. Sakura struck the two on the heads, yelling, knock it off, you idiots. As Naruto rubbed the bump on his head, she said, Naruto, answer the damn question. How did you end up learning from one of the Sannin? Naruto remarked, geez, you don't have to be so harsh, Sakura-chan, as his thoughts turned to what Jiraiya had instructed him to say in the event that someone inquired as to why Jiraiya had accepted him as an apprentice. Naruto shrugged and continued, actually, he said I reminded him of himself when he was young, and found me funny. So he helped me with my training and that's it. Naruto shrugged and Shikamaru raised a raised eyebrow, asking, that's it? One of the 3 strongest ninjas in the village's history just decided to take you on because you reminded him of himself? Naruto grinned and said, what can I say, maybe he saw some potential in me. Kiba grinned in response. Kiba said, or maybe he felt sorry for you, while Naruto gave him a fierce look. Wanna repeat that, dog boy? You heard me, porcupine head? Gah. Both of them exclaimed as Sakura gave them a headshake. Sasuke, on the other hand, crossed his arm, clearly not amused. Still doesn't explain how you got stronger within a month. Last time you could barely control your chakra. Now suddenly you can do several jutsu and change your chakra's nature. How did you pull it off? Sasuke asked with a smirk. He replied, that's because I have a training method that only I can use, to a raised eyebrow from Sasuke. Turning around, Naruto put his hands behind his head and asked, and what is that? As Sakura struck him on the head once more, he yelled, like I tell you, fight me in a fair match and maybe I will go. Hinata was concerned for him. Sakura became enraged and Naruto exclaimed, Sakura-chan. What the heck was that for? Sakura raised her fist and yelled, stop being an idiot and just tell us already. Naruto rubbed his bump and said, fine, it's not like many people can use it anyway. They nodded and he said, okay, so you guys know about my shadow clones, right? Well, I found out that the shadow clones can transfer information once they've been dispelled. Originally it is used as a recon clone, to scout out enemy positions and then transfer the clone's memory back to the original once they dispel. So, during my training, I got the idea that if I trained with multiple shadow clones, I could gain twice the amount of experience I would have gotten by myself. And you've seen how many clones I can make, he said while everyone was staring with wide eyes. Choji exclaimed, whoa. That's insane, as he and the others recalled Naruto summoning 1,000 clones. Hacks. I call fucking hacks. Kiba yelled, that is completely unfair. You mean to tell me you can get months worth of training in only a short time? Hack. Fucking hack, man, Kiba yelled. I do have to admit, that is a rather interesting training method. You could become one of the strongest in our grade in a short amount of time, maybe even reach Jonin level early, Shino said with a sigh. Well, it's not as simple as you might think, Naruto pointed out with his fingers. First, the training method only increases my mental knowledge and experience, not my physical body. So anything like martial arts and kata I need to still build up my physical strength by myself. Clones can help me memorize moves, but I don't gain any physical experience from them. Second, there's a huge strain on my brain and stamina if I overuse my clones. I can train till the cows come home, but my chakra is split evenly among the clones. So in a sense, my clones are working with a limited amount of chakra. Third, I still need to go on missions to build up combat and life experience, So even though I'm mentally stronger now and can learn more jutsu faster, I still need to gain experience and I need someone to teach me. Although it did help me catch up with all the basic knowledge I didn't bother to pay attention to back at the academy, Naruto said. Kiba boastfully grinned and exclaimed, "Well, I bet if I knew the shadow clone jutsu, I'd get twice as strong as you." Kurenai responded, "Unfortunately, I don't think that method will work on any of you, Kiba," as he and the others turned to see their sensei approaching them. Hinata said, "Kurenai's sensei," and Asuma grinned. "What are you doing here?" Hinata asked. "Well, we finished our patrols and wanted to check in on you kids. We overheard your conversation, and now it makes sense how Naruto managed to improve in just a month," Asuma said with a grin on his face. Sasuke questioned, "Kakashi-sensei, why can't this training method work with us?" While Kakashi examined the youthful Uchiha. "Because Sasuke, the shadow clone is an A-ranked jutsu that's not designed for ordinary genin to master. As Naruto said, it splits the user's chakra evenly amongst the clones. It's an advanced jutsu that not everyone can utilize to its full effect. I myself can only make 2 to 3 clones at a time. Not to mention it takes a large amount of stamina to keep the clones active for long periods. Naruto is the only person in the village that has extremely high stamina and chakra levels capable of pulling off this training method." Kakashi looked at his pupil. Naruto pointed to Sakura and said, "I do have to know, I'm curious as to how you figured this out." Sakura blinked and he said, "Oh, well, I guess you can thank Sakura-chan for that." She questioned, How was I responsible for this?" as Naruto raised a finger. "Well, a while back I sent one of my clones in to get some ramen. It ran into Sakura and then she got angry at me for not visiting Hinata in the hospital and punched my clone in the face. When I got the memories for that, I asked Iruka-sensei and figured if I trained with more clones I could get my chakra control up to scratch. Then came the nature transformation, the jutsu, the summoning, and after that, I was pretty much ready for my fight with Neji," he said with a nod. "I see. Well, I'm glad that you found a way to utilize your training month so effectively. I'm only sorry I didn't do more to help you prepare for Gaara," Kakashi said with a smirk. "It's fine, like I told you yesterday, I understand why you had to train Sasuke. It's all good, Kakashi-sensei. I'm not the kind of guy to hold grudges," Naruto said while Kakashi nodded. Sakura nodded, and Ino questioned, "Whoa, when did Naruto get so mature?" Before Kakashi raised his hand, she remarked, "I know, usually by now he'd have shouted his head off. I guess that training month paid off. In any case, you all have done well for today and repairs are coming along well. Tomorrow will be more repair assignments, and you need your rest. So, go home and rest up," Kakashi told the genin who were present. As the jonin looked among themselves, Choji said, "Hey, Kakashi-sensei, what's going to happen with the Chunin exams? I mean, is anyone going to get promoted?" Seeing as the exams were interrupted, the Shinobi Council, the Elders and Lord Third have decided to put the evaluations on hold until the repairs are done. Not to mention, with Lord Third retiring, it's unlikely anyone will be promoted until a new Hokage is chosen. After that, the examinees will be reviewed on their performance and a decision will be made when the Godem is sworn into office, explained Kakashi. Asuma shook his head and Ino questioned, "But what about Sasuke? He didn't get a chance to show his skills during the finals? Will he not be considered for a promotion?" Sasuke had already been disqualified for turning up late. "No offense, Sasuke, but a shinobi must be punctual for any mission, arriving neither late nor early to a battle," he said as Sakura turned to Sasuke. As Sasuke stared and then shrugged, Sakura said, "Sasuke-kun, I'm so sorry." "That's okay, I didn't care about getting promoted anyway. All that matters is to get stronger," he remarked, shoving his hands into his pockets and turning to leave. "Man, that guy is always so edgy," Kiba muttered as Choji and Shikamaru nodded and Sakura looked worriedly at her teammate before beginning to head out as well. Sakura shook her head and Naruto said, "So, does anyone want to go get some ramen? Guys, Sakura-chan, want to go with me?" Naruto shook his head. "No, Naruto, I'm not going on a date with you, even if it's ramen. I've got more pressing things to deal with. I'll see you all tomorrow," she said as she turned to leave. The others shook their heads, and he said, "I wasn't asking for a date, how about you guys?" Shikamaru excused herself, "Sorry, but Asuma-sensei's taking us to Yakiniku-Q now that Choji is all better. He wants to eat there as soon as possible," to a salivating Choji. Asuma sighed and Choju said, "Beef teriyaki. My paycheck for this month is gone," he sighed, and Kurenai gave him a shoulder pat. "My dad needs help at the flower shop, so I can't come." If Sasuke-kun were there it'd be different, but sorry, can't, Ino stated as she left. Akamaru barked in agreement as they walked away. We'd come too, but Mum wants me to help fix up the dog pens back at the compound, later guys, Kiba said. And I need to help repopulate some of the Kakaichu that were lost during the invasion. I will see you all tomorrow. Apologies, Shino said with a sigh. Hinata blushed at the idea of going to have ramen with Naruto by herself. She turned to face Kurenai, who gave her a thumbs up before nodding. That's fair, so how about you Hinata? Want to go get some ramen? Or do you have to help out at the Hyuga compound? He asked. And no, the Hyuga compound wasn't as badly damaged during the invasion and I doubt my father will have need of me while I'm still on an active duty. I would love to go get some ramen with you, she said with a wide grin. With his biggest smile, he exclaimed, that's awesome. I like hanging out with you Hinata. You're awesome. Just as Hinata started to feel dizzy. You dare not. This is taking place. Put it down. As Hinata overcame her body's urge to pass out, her inner Hinata yelled. Then, as Asuma and Kakashi got going, she nodded and followed Naruto. Asuma inquired, huh, since when were Naruto and Hinata so well acquainted? Kurenai grinned. He visited her during her hospital stay, and they ended up getting close. I think it's sweet, the boy has had such a positive effect on her that I'm not opposed to her hanging around him. Plus, it's kind of cute and something they need to forget about all that's happened, she said while Asuma nodded. He grinned softly beneath his mask. I guess you're right, Kakashi. What do you think? As Kakashi stared and momentarily saw Minato and Kushina, along with Obito and Rin. As he and the other senseis carried on their patrol, he remarked, I think they deserve this moment. Otogakure, the land of sound, in the meantime. Kabuto put Orochimaru in his chair, and he writhed in agony. Now that he had begun to rot away from the effects of the dead demon-consuming jutsu, his arms were entirely bandaged. He was in excruciating pain as his flesh began to slowly rot from the inside out. To make matters worse, it prevented him from using his jutsu, which was the one item he had cherished and aspired to possess his entire life. He glared at his arms, grunting and cursing. You're cursed, Saratobi. Orochimaru moaned. How dare you take away my jutsu? I'm sorry Lord Orochimaru, but taking on the third Hokage wasn't going to be an easy feat. He was once considered the strongest Kage in the 5 nations. However, it seems that your battle has left him crippled for life, and with the Kage gone, that's 2 of the 5 Kage. Cease providing me with words of consolation, or I'll murder you, Orochimaru growled, his pain audible. Of course, forgive me, Lord Orochimaru. However, even though the village was not destroyed, some good has come from it. Sasuke Uchiha, your leash is on him now. He will inevitably be drawn to you. Given the fact that his teammate, Naruto Uzumaki, was able to improve greatly within a month under Jiraiya, it would stand to reason Sasuke will seek out a similar mentor, Kabuto said while Orochimaru nodded. Orochimaru thought, holding in the agony in his arms, the Uzumaki. His growth was unexpected, and his meddling allowed that fool Jiraiya to interfere in my bid to kill the old man. He may become a potential threat one day. But you are correct, and Sasuke may end up seeking me out as well, if only I hadn't lost the use of my arms and all the jutsu I spent years cultivating, he screamed. He grimaced, recalling the red Sharingan eyes of the Uchiha murderer. If only we had gotten our hands on his older brother, Itachi. Then none of this would be a problem. He is much more powerful than me, especially now that I am constrained by my arms, which is one of the reasons I left that organization, Orochimaru remarked, glancing at the remnants of his previous arm and the ring on its finger. In addition, I will need to do some extensive research into the sealing method that the old man used on me. If I want to have any chance of restoring my arms, I need to find out more about the seal he used, he said with a narrowed gaze. He said, anything that is sealed can be unsealed, and Kabuto nodded. As he left Orochimaru to sink in his own rage, Kabuto bowed, saying, yes, Lord Orochimaru. Ichiraku Ramen, in the meantime, is late afternoon. After working on the repairs all day, Naruto and Hinata were having a light meal at the ramen stand. They talked about their time at the academy and the missions they had completed as a team. They both laughed at the numerous practical jokes Naruto had pulled over the years and retracted their statements. So then I placed the itching powder in the substitute seats, and he shot off the seat like he had a squirrel in his pants. He chased me while trying to scratch his butt. Naruto paused and laughed. I remember that. If I recall, you had to clean out the boys' toilet for a month after Iruka-sensei caught you, she said while Naruto nodded. Naruto turned back to his meal and remarked, Yeah, Iruka-sensei was not happy, but honestly the other teacher deserved it. The guy was a huge jerk. She shook her head and he said, "You know, I forget that you were in the same class as me. Must make me seem like a real jerk, huh?" It's fine, Naruto-kun. I wasn't exactly the most lively person, and honestly, I don't like to draw attention to myself. It's a miracle I'm able to talk as much as I am now, she said with a grin. He asked her, blushing, as she stirred her noodles absently. "Well, I think you're awesome. I just wish I knew that before, maybe we could have hung out more," she said. She said, "I would have liked that," as Tucci and Ayame smiled at her and Naruto grinned back. Ayame said, "Easy there, Naruto, you're going to make the poor girl pass out," as Naruto furrowed his brow. Tucci waved a dismissive hand, and Naruto said, "Huh? What do you mean by that?" Tucci offered, "It's nothing, just enjoy your meal. It's on the house," seeing the sparkle in Naruto's eyes. Gratefully slurping up his noodles, he exclaimed, "Really, wow, thanks, old man." Naruto turned to Hinata and said, "Aw, that's good ramen." He asked as she nodded, "How is yours, Hinata?" It tastes really good. I appreciate the dinner," she said, nodding to Tucci and Ayame. "It's fine, we're just glad Naruto's finally bringing more friends here. Other than Iruka and his teammates, Naruto doesn't have a lot of people. We're just glad he made some more," Ayame said as Naruto gave them a soft Ayame teased as they both blushed. "The fact he brought a cute girl with him is just a bonus. Is she going to be your girlfriend someday?" As Hinata turned a deep red, Naruto stood up and yelled, "What the heck, Ayame?" As Ayame and Tucci furrowed their brows, Naruto exclaimed, "It's not like that, she's just a friend." Friend. Right, they both mused to themselves as they turned to face the red-faced girl. Naruto sat back down and Ayame said, Okay, she's just a friend. For the time being, at least, she reasoned, realizing the girl was clearly infatuated with him. Moreover, each time Naruto had come to eat, she had been able to see her from a distance. While Naruto shrugged, Tucci questioned, "In any case, do you think you'll get promoted? I heard you performed rather well in the final part of the exam?" "I'm not sure. With the old man about to retire, and the village as it is, the results for the Chunin exams have been pushed back. I don't know if I will get promoted, mostly because I didn't do so well on the first part of the exam. But even if I don't, it's okay. I'll just keep trying until I get promoted. After all, I plan to become Hokage one day." Naruto replied with a grin, and Hinata grinned. Naruto-kun, who was feeling a strange twinge in his heart every time she said she believed in him, stared at her again. "Whatever the results are, I believe in you, Naruto-kun," she said. He blushed a little on his cheeks and smiled. She smiled back at him, and the two ramen owners grinned sardonically. "Thanks, Hinata. I'm glad I've got a friend like you," he said. "So, this is where you hang out, should have figured you'd be here," Jiraiya said as he walked into the tiny ramen stand, and Naruto and Hinata turned to face him. Jiraiya sighed and Naruto exclaimed, "Hey, pervy sage." Hinata arched an eyebrow at him. "Damn it, brat. One of these days, I'll get you to stop calling me that," he said. "Pervy sage?" she inquired, turning to face Jiraiya. His greetings caused Hinata's eyes to widen. "Oh, you must be the Hinata girl he was talking about. Nice to meet you. I'm Jiraiya, this bonehead's teacher," he said. Jiraiya grinned and she said, "J. Jiraiya-sama," as in the same Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin. He said, "That's right, the one and only, nice to know I have a fan," to Naruto's disapproval. He said, "Yeah, well I just call him pervy sage," to Hinata's disapproving glance. Naruto blinked in surprise and leaned back as she lectured him with surprising amount of backbone. "En Naruto-kun. You can't call someone like Jiraiya-sama pervy sage. It's highly disrespectful. Especially when he took the time to train you for a month. It's very rude." Jiraiya grinned at Naruto's startled expression and thought, girl's got some spitfire in her. "Whoa, sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful. But the thing is this guy is a massive pervert. He goes peeking into the women's bathhouse every chance he gets, hits on any lady he sees and writes those perverted books my sensei reads all the time," he explained while blinking and staring at the mail. She leaned back from the elderly man and said, Really? Kurenai sensei told me to stay away from those books, if he wrote them." Jiraiya lamented, "Hey now, I'm not that bad. Dang it kid, you're going to ruin my representative," while Naruto laughed. Naruto remarked, "You're doing that on your own, being a pervert and all," as Jiraiya's eyes quirked. "Little punk," he sighed and said, Forget it, anyway, pack your bags, we're going on a mission, to which Naruto gave a small wink. Naruto questioned, a mission? What are you talking about, pervy sage? Naruto raised an eyebrow at Jiraiya, it's an important mission and I need you with me, we're going to find someone that will be of great value to the village. But I'm needed here in the village, there are still areas of the village that need repair and I need to help my friends. Besides, why do you need me? If you're going to find someone, shouldn't you have Anbu with you or something? He asked with a sigh. Nah, they just cramp my style, besides the mission we're on is vital to the village and you're one of the only few I can trust. Plus, I got a new technique I want to teach you, he replied with a sparkle in his eyes. As Jiraiya pondered, he said, a new technique, awesome. But wait, how long will I be gone for? Not sure, the person we're after hasn't been in the village since after the Third Great War. But my recent intel says she's somewhere in the Land of Fire. So at most, a few weeks? Jiraiya speculated while Naruto nodded. I see, Naruto turned to face Hinata. He said, well, looks like I'm off for a few weeks. Sorry, Hinata, to which she responded with a shake of her head. It's okay, it sounds like an important mission. Just be careful out there, with how things are after the invasion, there's no telling what could happen, she said with a grin on her face. I will, Naruto replied, and the two grinned at each other as onlookers gave them a knowing smirk. As they turned away, he questioned, what? Oh nothing, they replied, earning a glare from Naruto. Jiraiya said, in any case, pack your things and meet me by the gate. We need to head out as soon as possible, and Naruto nodded. He soon said goodbye to Hinata and left to get ready for what might be a protracted journey. Hours later, in the early morning mist that permeated the forest, the village's periphery was being reached. The Chunin on duty at the checkpoint yawned and stood at attention. He was the only shinobi left to man this checkpoint with their current forces. He heard a faint bell abruptly and saw two figures walking toward him. They had straw hats, black cloaks with red clouds on them, and white cloth around the hat rims. One of the two towered over the other, a large sword wrapped in white bandages on his back. The Chunin turned to the shorter figure and said, halt, state your business, as they came to a halt. Just before he passed out, he suddenly began to feel exhausted. But before he passed out, the last thing he saw had a Sharingan eye.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.